rising, yes, sir. Then again I'm falling. Let Jesus work it out. Please, your Father would work it out. Oh, let God work it out. Please, your Father would work it out. Oh, let God work it out. Please, your Father would work it out. Oh, let God work it out. Oh, work it out. You work it out for Mother Lisa. Sometimes I'm gaining, then again I'm losing. Sometimes I'm rising, yes, sir. Then again I'm falling. Sometimes I'm gaining, then again I'm losing. I'm rising, yes, sir. Then again I'm falling. Let Jesus work it out. Please, your Father would work it out. Oh, let God work it out. Please, your Father would work it out. Oh, let God work it out. Please, your Father would work it out. Oh, let God work it out. Oh, work it out. You work it out for Mother Lisa.
All right. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Dr. David Patrick Carey, and I am joined today by my friend, my colleague, my godson, Dr. Michael Moeller. How are you, sir?
Hey, from one doctor to another, let's flex on it, man. I think this is the first stream since you got the DR in front of your name. So
Hey, I appreciate it, man.
It's an official congratulations, man. Lots of hard work. I know it's just a couple of letters, but means a lot, and I know you're doing good with it. So happy to be back as always.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate that. And yeah, this is the first time we've streamed since then. It is kind of, once you go through the system, as you would know, and it's going to tie into what we're talking about today with all these people with PhDs and various letters after their name in the fitness industry. It really doesn't mean a whole lot, but it is a sort of symbol of victory and accomplishment for a long journey. So thank you, brother. I appreciate that. But you just got back from a trip. Didn't you just do a little bit of a pilgrimage, Orthodox pilgrimage back to the Holy Land?
Yeah. Our holy,
Greece,
yeah,
Mount Athos.
Yeah, that counts, right? That counts. That's Rome, right? We got into that a lot. We had some, I got to figure out what to call them, Romans, right? We had some Macedonians, people who thought they were Macedonians, who the Romans thought weren't Macedonians, some Kosovonians, Serbians. Yeah, so started off Montenegro, Serbia, Skopje, depending on who you talk to, right? That's the whole kind of drama with Macedonia, and Greece. And then, I was went to the Holy Mountain, so I can mispronounce his name one more time. Harizanis. Well,
Yeah.
good member of the community.
Well, I call him Charzanis. I just give it my terrible English framing. I don't think you pronounce the C in Greece, but he told me it's fine. So
Yeah.
everybody in the Logos Academy, we call him Charzanis.
Yeah, he was with me, and he was an excellent. I would go as far as tour guide because he was just so knowledgeable. Everywhere he went, it was awesome to have a Greek speaker. Guy's a wealth of knowledge. Was super hospitable in every way, shape, and form. Ran into some other American Orthodox people on the Holy Mountain, so that was really cool. Did a lot of the things you did in Thessaloniki, right? Thessalonica. Yeah, and saw the Saint Demetrius, Saint Gregory Palamos.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, today on old calendar, Lupus, feast day, which was a disciple of Saint Demetrius. He was one of the ones that was martyred. I think he got Saint Demetrius's ring and cloak and did a bunch of miracles and whatnot. So, Saint Lupus, right? Pray to God for us.
Amen.
Yeah.
Well, today we're going to have quite a fun stream. We got a bunch of content lined up. We're going to be diving into, as the title says, at least on my side of YouTube, Dr. Mo's also streaming on his channel, exposing the fitness industry. And what we plan on getting into today, and why I thought Dr. Mo is the perfect person to join me, is we're going to be looking at the kind of notable frauds, Liver King, for anybody who wasn't familiar with the fallout with his steroid use. We're going to be diving into the question, is Michael Hearn natty or not? We're going to be then really addressing one of the biggest influencers in the fitness industry, Mike Israetel. And he has a PhD in nutrition, or
I thought it was exercise science.
Exercise science, yeah.
Physiology.
So he's the number one exercise scientist on YouTube, and he has some interesting beliefs. So even though he's ethnically Jewish, he's not a practicing Jew. He identifies as an atheist or agnostic. He uses all these scientific backed studies. He's kind of in the same camp as we'll be talking about with Jeff Nippard, Dr. Lane Norton. We'll be talking about Andrew Huberman as well, although I think I got some nice things to say about Huberman in comparison to some of the other people. But Israetel in particular, this considered the number one exercise scientist on YouTube, he is pro-porn, believes that low IQ people believe in God, cries when he communicates with ChatGPT, and can't wait until ChatGPT has a robot body so that he can worship it. So we got a lot of stuff. And then we're going to even be looking at people like Ashton Hall. If you guys remember, he had a viral trend a handful of months ago where he'd wake up and do these routines where he puts his face into Saratoga water and then acts like he has this natural physique, which is clearly enhanced through steroids, to get people to sign up to his programs and make money. And that's kind of a running theme. So we're going to be critiquing what people prescribe. For example, when we look at Lane Norton, who's also a PhD, what's his PhD in?
I think his is actually nutrition.
Nutrition, right? And then Huberman's is neuroscience.
Correct.
Right.
And look, if I can say one thing too, I got a lot of, you got a DR in front of your name. A lot of these guys have gone through the program. They are very well trained. Don't get me wrong. I just especially think from an Orthodox world perspective, when we look at these guys and they are quote unquote influencers, and in particular with you, I said, these guys don't have any kind of understanding of epistemology. And so when we look at, especially like something like with the COOF, it's like, okay, how do we make decisions using science? And how many of these people then push their agenda? Like Huberman has a lot of good stuff. But I think his openings, like, the science podcast for science people in a science-based world who want to know the science. And in particular, that one podcast he did, he's like, hey, let's use science to judge God. It's like, well, wait a minute, man, I think you're kind of missing the point.
Right.
And then they're using these, science-based morality.
Right.
And then, like you said, I get it where, okay, well then pornography, is that a good or a bad thing? Well, if you're not Orthodox, okay, I actually, there's another guy who I followed when I was in school, and they're like, yeah, if you can't sleep, go ahead and masturbate. That's a good way to get a dopamine kick. You'll fall right asleep, And I was like, but that was back when we were kind of agnostic. I was going through that whole new age thing, and I go, okay, well, that makes sense from a scientific standpoint. Get a little dopamine kick, get my release, and then I go to sleep. But obviously, where we're at now, like, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So definitely coming in from this, and I got a lot of respect for the people that I love Michael Hearn, bro. Like, his memes are fire. You know what I mean? He's on the meme train, man. So I'm about it, but you also kind of need to be truthful. Isn't that the point of science? What did I name mine? Truth versus science. Yeah. Right. You can't have science without truth, folks. So,
yeah. And regarding this focus on science, because this is going to be my critique of somebody like for the audience. I mean, most of these guys you guys have probably heard or at least seen clips of them online. They're big names in the fitness industry, and one in particular, Jeff Nippard, who I don't have a personal beef or anything, and his approach is all science based, right? So these peer reviewed studies. He's kind of a self-admitted manlet. He's very short. Yeah, I think he's like 5'6", 5'7", somewhere around there. But he's won some bodybuilding contests, and now he has a thriving, huge YouTube channel. But his science-based focus in regards to fitness topics also leads him to be somebody who's pro COVID vax, which is very interesting, along with Lane Norton, who's also this PhD in nutrition. They're also a parallel between both of them is they don't like the reforms that RFK Jr. is implementing in HHS, which is very strange for somebody who's a science-based fitness educator, I guess you will say, on YouTube, the other one a PhD in nutrition. And because they're so obsessed with what the science says, you find that they're kind of on the opposite end of really kind of folk wisdom. I mean, you didn't have to have a PhD in 2020 to be like, there's something up with that jab. And yet the common man, or even generally speaking, and I'm going to make the argument, Christianity, obviously orthodoxy, but in regards to the numbers of people that got jabbed, it was Christians in plural that were the largest group of people. Obviously, that incorporates Protestants, Catholics, Orthodox. But there's something about Christ. There's something about following, again, whatever traditions left in Protestantism, but following this sort of traditional faith that is a sort of immune to some of these overly, this is what the science says, because we know these institutions are corrupted. And that's one of the things that I think people who go through the system like we did and get these, letters behind our name, is that they then always want to appeal back to the institutions in the system to validate who they are. Well, I'm saying this, I have a PhD and this is what this peer reviewed study is like. Okay, but it's all, the whole institution is problematic.
Yeah. What's the, listen to the doctors. Oh, not those doctors. Listen to the doctors that we liked. You know what I mean? Because there were doctors on both sides. I really forget the first two ER docs. Do you remember that came out within the first week or two of COVID? And we're like, guys, this is bad news. We're seeing all this, and they were like instantly hushed. Yeah. It's like, okay, let's all listen to, Mr. Fauci or whatever. And then, unfortunately, and this is where we have the epistemology, we have the background of orthodoxy to frame what we want as truth, because unfortunately, all these people, you go through the system, you're told how to think, and then you match the data. That's the major problem with science is you can only collect so much data, right? At the end of the day. And if you want to, I can have a study that, hey, if you eat a can of beans every day, let me prove that you live longer. Okay. Well, what if you have terrible gas and then no one wants to be around you? What's the point of living longer ultimately? Right. And that's one of the major issues, in my opinion, with the science. Like, trust me, I've taken as much of a science-based approach in general in my practice. One of the parts of being a naturopath doctor, though, I do think that I like being on the fringe of things, because who else is going to do it, right? My expertise is in physiology and biochemistry. So if there's a peptide that's come out and there's not a lot of research on it, what's the risk versus reward? And, ultimately, like, we can take statins, debating on what research that you want to read. In my opinion, and in my experience of reading the research, there is some evidence that statins do lower cardiovascular outcomes, right? So if you're 50 years old and you have high LDL, total cholesterol, yeah, there's some evidence that shows you have a, let's say 5% decreased chance for heart disease by the, or your heart attack. But there's also no decreased chance in overall death. So what does that mean? It's like you're probably dying somewhere else. Okay, so you're not going to have a heart attack, but does that increase your chance for Alzheimer's, dementia, bones breaks, and all these other things? So it's so hard for us to take one piece of data and then extrapolate and say, this is better. It's like, dude, and honestly, at the end of the day, you just kind of have to use common sense. You have to use biochemistry and physiology and kind of estimate the outcome. And
well, that's where I think the fitness industry today is kind of like the martial arts community back in the time of Bruce Lee, where everybody has their own school and thinks that their own camp or their own methods are the best. And that's what, again, calls into question people like all these PhDs and academics that are these influencers that read a study and then they give you a general claim of truth or fact about physiognomy, biochemistry, health in general, nutrition. And it's like, well, how do you interpret that? What are the factors? What are other factors that could lead to, similar outcomes? And our bodies are so varied. I mean, people are predisposed to certain things, and based on your genetics, it's really difficult to make massive general claims about any one thing regarding health. That's what makes the, health such a intricate, important, but constantly evolving field.
Yeah. And again, ultimately, there's so much data out there, you can't collect it all. And then you can have correlations versus causations. That's the main issue, especially with epidemiological studies, when you're just observing things, right? Like the big study for a long time, vegans loved the blue zone, where they went around the world and like looking at where do people live the longest. And in a lot of those places, people had more of a plant-based diet. Now, with that being said, people in those areas had good senses of community. They didn't work as long, often had more sunshine. So, okay, is it that? Or, for instance, nicotine, smoking is another really good one. Guys who smoke often and use nicotine have higher testosterone. Now,
that's right, boys.
That's
right. That's coming from Dr. Mo straight.
That's the plug, bro.
Hey, and if anybody wants to get a discount on the best nicotine pouches on the market, Alp, use this affiliate link right here. So, hey, that's right out of the horse's mouth. That wasn't me. That wasn't me promoting it, guys. That's right from the naturopathic doctor.
What's the, real men smoke Marlboros, or they do Alps? 10 out of 10 doctors recommend,
Yeah.
So, but it's hard. Is it correlation or cause? Is it guys? I would say it's probably both. Guys who, have higher testosterone are more likely to engage in activities. Nah, bro, no menthols. Nick's a crusher, man. I'm just kidding. I may not. Andrew's ears are ringing.
Ears are ringing.
Oh, yeah. I'm already caught. Pants. It is what it is. But guys with higher testosterone take more risk. So therefore they're more likely, but I think it's a positive feedback loop. And this is the other thing, right? So Justin asks about cancer risk.
Yeah.
My opinion as a doctor, your job should be to take all the data, talk to the person for an hour, 2 hours, figure out what they're predisposed to, what their lifestyle is. Yesterday, right? I have this 36-year-old lawyer out of Los Angeles, 3 kids. They're trying for their 4th. His testosterone is 260. And for you guys who don't know, that's not great. Yeah. Right. Not great at all. So, okay, what do I do? I had a guy at 36. He's a lawyer. He's working 12, 14-hour days. He's got 3 kids at home. Hey, bro, you gotta wake, and this is the other thing. We can dunk on some of the influencers who are like, I spend 3 hours. I wake up and I splash my face with water. I sun my butthole. I ice my balls. And then I have 3 hours of red light. And then I go in. It's like, bro, I don't have time to do that. That's why, that's why we have supplements. So yeah, I have to sit down with that guy and figure out, I was like, can you do this? Can you do that? Can you take a pill? Right? Maybe you need testosterone replacement therapy for a little bit. Maybe you need to take clomiphene, HCG. Maybe ashwagandha will work. Right? And so like with cancer, I just go down, okay, do you have family members who've used nicotine and they have mouth cancer? Does it improve your quality of life? How many people my godson just got off like the deadliest catch. So they're puffing heaters every, 20 or 30 minutes, but he's working 14-hour shifts, like catching fish and slicing them up. So how else are you going to get through that? What's the joke? imagine what Alexander the Great could have accomplished with white monsters and Zins or Alps,
That's funny.
So yeah, it's risk versus reward. And that's what I try and really do. I try and with every person, because the same thing with exercise, lifting. It's like everyone kind of has their thing. There we go, Justin. Like he's T-maxing right now.
He's T-maxing big time.
What's going on?
I will say though, in regards to mouth cancer for nicotine pouches, that there just isn't any evidence for that yet. Could there be a thing in the future? Yeah, nicotine pouches are not, haven't been on the market for a super long time, so it's hard to know what the long-term consequences are. The things that I've looked into is increased heart rate and potentially a recession of your gum line, depending on how you use them. Now, regarding cancers, the problem with nicotine is the method of entry. Like what is the mechanism in which you're getting your nicotine? And so when you do smoke or use chewing tobacco, there's a lot of other carcinogens in there. At least what we're told and what we understand with these nicotine pouches, that using these nicotine salts, that you sort of bypass some of the carcinogens of these other delivery mechanisms. So
yeah,
we don't know yet, but as you said, it's the high tea thing to do, really.
Well, and so we have, right, nicotine works on, we have parasympathetic, they're called nicotinic receptors, ultimately.
Christian said, now my fitness regimen is cigarettes and whiskey and wild women.
We have another prescription.
Come on. There. He's a typical Rothschild. Typical Rothschild.
Oh, man. So the other thing that I will say to be more mindful of is, you see this in a lot of the European countries, smoking cigarettes after food, because we have nicotinic receptors, which helps with our parasympathetic nervous system, right? Rest and digest. And I think one thing that we should be mindful of, if you have colitis, Crohn's, any type of GI stuff, a lot of the times, if you're doing an Alps or any type of things with nicotine, it can increase mucus secretion. That's one thing I would keep in mind. And this is why with me, I always try and use the least amount. Like I will say, sorry, Pat, if you're on your 10th Zin for the day, you're probably at
beyond, the beneficial reward. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is what
threshold for everything.
Well, and what I try and do with a lot of like nootropics or mood boosters or energy boosters is just rotate them. Like I'll do a methylene blue. I'll chew beech nut, like the nicotine leaves. I do another thing called phenylpiracetam, and then maybe another day I do a little bit extra caffeine. So I'm kind of usually rotating the stimulants, if that makes sense. So you kind of you keep your sensitivity to each of them. So
yeah, mine's pretty much coffee and nicotine. I need to get a better rotation into place here.
Yeah, up and down. Paraxanthine is another one, right? I think we chatted about that before. Caffeine turns into paraxanthine. Paraxanthine is a metabolite. It doesn't raise the heart rate as much, and it doesn't affect blood pressure as much. I think that's one watch out for. I think over the next couple of years, more people will be using that and like pre-workout supplements, energy drinks, and whatnot. So little cue for the day.
Well, I want to talk to you about peptides here, but I think maybe the best way is to kind of introduce, watch a little bit of Liver King real quick of him lying about steroid use.
I eat peptides.
And then him admitting to his steroid use. For those of you who don't know, Liver King, this gentleman right here that went famous probably about 2 years ago, had like this primal supplement line where it's like beef organs and all types of what he calls the primal methods for or primal ancestral methods. Well, everybody assumed that the dude was on steroids, and he kept denying it for years. And his company like absolutely blew up. He was making millions and millions of dollars through these supplements and convincing people that he attained his physique through like eating raw meat, like bull testicles, stuff like this. And he would take videos of himself doing it, which would go viral. Well, then more plates, more dates. Derek from that YouTube channel discovered a guy sent him, and apparently he had emails with Liver King from years and years ago, talking about getting on gear and what type of things he should be using at what dosages. And turns out the dude was on a $10,000 regimen of steroids and PEDs per month. So per month, he was spending about $10,000 just on steroids and supplements to make himself look that way. And once that got exposed, basically he's lost most of what he built. But again, he was so wealthy, unless he was overstretched. It's not like he's poor or anything now, but nowhere near the popularity he once had. And now, recently he was arrested. What was this, like 2 or 3 months ago in Austin, Texas, because he was threatening. He wants to fight Joe Rogan, and he thinks that to earn his pride and his esteem back within society, he wants to submit and defeat Joe Rogan in hand-to-hand combat. And I guess it stems because Joe Rogan never had him on, because Joe Rogan always thought that he was on steroids and lying about his supplements. And so there's like this big beef about that.
Well, and he's a perfect example of, unfortunately, in the fitness industry, like most influencers, they kind of catch one thing and it gets people's attention and it works. And then they just, you know what I mean, go. And that's like how much of this is, what do you call it? Not necessarily rage baiting, but you know, I wonder if he literally, like, I saw that video, he was like at the park and like, Joe Rogan, you know, I have to take you down. You know, you insulted me for the last time, you know?
Yeah, this is ironic. He'll probably suffer from severe liver damage.
Hey, Lord have mercy on him, guys. We gotta pray for him. Gotta pray for him.
But
let's see it.
Yeah. Anyways, we'll watch a couple of these clips real quick, and then we'll get into more about these fitness influencers. And this is really what we're using for Liver King as representative of fitness influencing. One of the big problems with the industry itself is that most of these people are taking performance enhancement drugs, and they will pass themselves off as totally natural to elevate both the capability of their genetics and their supposed work ethic and their strictness on their diets and stuff like that, but then sell their supplements or whatever companies that are sponsoring them. And I think for a lot of young people now, based on what I've seen, especially on TikTok, is that Gen Z is just way more likely to engage in hard steroid use, like within high school, like early 20s. Then, at least when I grew up, you know, I played sports and I was in the gym in my teens and 20s. It just wasn't as common. Now you see kids playing like football in high school, and like they're, you know, not that it didn't happen back in the day, it did. But it just wasn't as common, or people just like kids so open about talking about it on TikTok, you know, that they're taking T-ball and stuff.
Well, and how much of that we grew up in that baseball era, right? Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, Tony Gwynn, Barry Bonds. So, that really, and I still blame that because, you know, obviously in my industry, oh Lord, you know, because I practice TRT, and it's funny because you know, to give people a reference point, like, and a lot of them, Rachel, they use oxandrolone, which is even like 10 times as strong as testosterone. For normal testosterone replacement, like to keep a guy non-super physiologic, right? If your reference range is 350 to 1200 is normal testosterone. A lot of the guys that I treat, they're doing 120 upwards to 200 milligrams a week, and that's spread out usually over a couple doses. I see it all the time on TikTok. They're like, hey, bro, if you want to get on T, you got to start at 500 milligrams. Dude, 500 milligrams is going to put you at like 3,000 or 4,000. And then they're stacking these other things like oxandrolone is a DHT derivative. So that's like testosterone's meaner older brother. They actually designed it on teenage girls who were burn victims. They're like, okay, how do we help these girls regenerate without growing an Adam's apple and a mustache? So they took DHT, they manipulated it and made it super anabolic. They pulled it. The drug name was Anavar. You can still get compounded oxandrolone and some of it underground. But my point is, it's 3, depending on your reference point, 10 times as potent as testosterone. So these guys are doing, like, just to give people a general idea of like Liver King, I think he was doing 500 milligrams to 1,000 a week, where I'm treating people at 150 milligrams. And then he's doing growth hormone on top of it. Then he's doing peptides on top of it and other anabolics, nandrolone, Masteron, all these other things they're not bioidentical. That's the other thing that most naturopathic doctors, we use bioidentical hormones, right? So you take testosterone cypionate, enters your body just like testosterone. When you start playing with other things, I'd say, you know, you're using a bad key. It works to open the door, but you don't know what it's doing to the lock, for lack of a better term.
Right.
So,
and just to be clear, you know, I know guys that are on gear and take that, and they're typically very serious about their physical fitness. And I'm, you know, if you're an adult man, and maybe you want to go compete, or you want to get on stage and be a bodybuilder, or, you know, if you are doing competitions that aren't testing, okay, that's your you know, adult decision.
yeah, honestly.
But the young kids getting onto them so early are doing permanent damage to their endocrine system.
Yeah, and we don't know long-term collagen synthesis, growth plates. We don't know how that impacts. The brain is actually probably one of the bigger ones. Like if you actually go and listen to some, I think it's Ben Pulaski really talks about that. He was on stuff for a long time, and like nandrolone can turn you gay. Honestly, there's like, nandrolone decanate. It like suppresses, increases your progestin, so it'd be progestogenic. Right, progestation hormone. It makes you like a little more docile, and they've said even about trend can make guys homosexual, so because it messes with your hormones, you know what I mean? And obviously, what do we do with transgender people, right? They're trying to manipulate their hormones in order to change their libido in a certain way. So and I will say, I'm with you to the point of, right, I grew up, I competed. Most people know I started TRT at 30. I'm biased. That's a whole other kind of conversation. I don't recommend that for everyone, but I was in the natural bodybuilding world, and I, you know, played high school football. There were plenty of people taking stuff then. And the sad thing is, like 3,000 people a year die of Tylenol overdose, you know, whether that's alcohol or whatever, you know, you can go skydiving. There's all these different ways. Arnold actually said that in Pumping Iron. They're like, Arnold, it's so weird. You're so obsessed with getting big muscles. Like, what's the deal? He's like, I don't know. I think it's weird that people spend 3 hours a day in their garage, like making their cars go faster so their car can go faster down the track. It's like, that's dangerous. Boats, you know, racing boats, climbing walls, all these different things. So I think definitely when you, depending on your priorities, like an Orthodox Christian, you need to take that in consideration. But ultimately, you know, if we're really in a free country or whatever, it's like people should have some kind of sovereignty to decide. There's a weird line for that as Orthodox Christians, obviously.
Right. But I mean, the government's doing everything they can to make your life as a naturopathic doctor more difficult in prescribing men who need testosterone, just to be in their optimal health. Yet if I identified as a woman, I could go get hormones today from some clinic. And so there's clearly an agenda here in regards to preventing men due to all the endocrine disruptors that we have in our environments. You've talked about this in multiple times in previous streams. Because of those, we're already in a massive deficit compared to historical levels of testosterone amongst men. So we do need to supplement that in certain ways. And they're trying to prevent that to make everybody more docile, feminine, and receptive to their programming.
Yeah. And how many guys I have coming to me, they've been to 4 or 5 different doctors, and they're like, oh, your testosterone isn't low. You're just depressed. Right here. Take some Prozac, take some Physiques, take some, like, they'll hand that stuff out like candy. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, it's like, no, it can't be your testosterone. Little did we know, like, sperm counts are down 70, 80%, depending on your metrics. Levels of testosterone, 30 to 40%, depending on your metrics. So
I saw one that said 50% from 50 years ago.
Yeah. There's one big study, 1988, the average 60-year-old man was in the mid 500s, 60-year-old man. Right. And so to be like, when I was 23, my first testosterone, which I was natural bodybuilding, no stress, school, doing everything right, was in the mid 300s.
Wow.
And yeah, I just told you I had a 36-year-old today, was in the 250s. Oh, dude, I had this guy come in. Him and his dad both got tested. This guy's 23, probably 5'10", 220, 7% body fat, like doing everything right. His dad's okay fit. His dad's level was like 600 and his was like 450.
What?
So, dude, I have dads and sons come in. That's happened probably 5 or 6 times where, you know, the dads have higher testosterone. So,
wow.
Just something we got to deal with. So,
all right. Well, with that being said, let's dive into some quick liver clean clips. We got tons of stuff to get through today, so we're going to be here for a minute.
All right, Primal. Let me teach you how I do this.
Ridiculous accusations. People say I take PEDs. People say I have ab implants.
Wait. Can we be honest? Like you definitely take PEDs.
You know what? I'm going to be on for the. I'll be
All right,
honest.
here we go.
I take PEDs.
Yeah.
I prioritize, execute, and dominate every fucking morning. Every morning.
I
let me
take
finish
PEDs.
this.
I pray every day.
Yeah.
So we both fucking take PEDs.
Here we go.
The whole world should
I take PEDs. I'm on Winstrol.
Don't know much a whole lot about that, but people say the same thing. I got ab implants, right? Or ab etching. I got hair.
You can get ab implants.
Looking at ab implants right now, they look pretty good.
I might have to get it.
The third image result on ab implants is you.
This is good. I love it. All these ridiculous accusations.
So anyway, I don't know about the ab implants. I haven't heard evidence of that being the case, but here's him talking about being ashamed.
Yes, I've done steroids, and yes, I'm on steroids. I'm making this video to apologize because I f***ed up.
And just looking at his chest, like I work out. I know a lot of guys, big gym heads. It's tough to get your chest that big, totally natural. I mean, there's a lot of giveaways. Typically what I look at to see if, a guy at the gym, if I'm thinking, oh, maybe he's on some gear. It's like your traps, your shoulders, and your chest. I just see, does that look abnormally big for like a natural person? And it's like, okay, well then, yeah, they're probably on something.
Because I'm embarrassed and ashamed. Because I lied. I have only myself to blame. Liver King.
I love the piano tune at the end where it kind of went up a little bit,
Yeah, somebody making fun of him. But dude, somebody mentioned in the chat too about how PEDs age you. And if you go to, I'll pull up his Instagram. Dude, he looks like 20 years older after all this. Have you seen him as of recent?
No. Well, I saw that video where he was in the park, like waiting to fight. Oh, Lord have mercy. And that looks like meth use, man. I'm not
Look at this. This was when he got arrested for trying to apparently go kill Joe Rogan and Austin. I mean, look at the bags under his eyes. The dude looks like he's almost 60 years old. I think he's like 46. Let's see how old the Liver King is.
Yeah, and that's dehydration. That is one of the other things if you're using PEDs and you have more like intracellular water retention.
47.
It's Puerto Rican. Is his name Michael too?
And his name's Brian Johnson.
Brian Michael Johnson. He's got 3 million followers.
Yeah, I mean, he is a ginormous account. But you can see he used to get way more engagement on his posts. Now he's getting like 4,000. I mean, still way more than I did. 2,500, 1,500, 2,700, stuff like that. But he looks like 8 million years. I mean, look at his face here.
Yeah, that's rough, man.
Our elevated beds, houses, we don't come in contact with the ancestral mother anymore. He's still laying there.
He's got some pagan stuff going on.
Ancestral tenant connect.
Oh yeah, he's a big pagan. He did a video back at the height. He went to the one of the African tribes. I'm forgetting which one they are. They're the ones that jump up and down. They're very tall. You know what I'm talking about? Like they're
really narrowed it down.
Some people in the chat are gonna know what I'm talking about. Is it the Mahai or
yeah, the ones that drink the cow blood?
Yes. So he went there to do that ritual and drank cow blood, and it's like, and he talked about it in very spiritual terms. So yeah, the Maasai. Thank you. Maasai. See, people know what I'm talking about.
I know, but those people in Africa, they jump up and down. Like, it's like
that was enough. Look, we're getting all these people. They know exactly what I'm talking about, dude.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. But yeah, they had some pretty funny comments. Like, dude out here looking like Radagast from The Hobbit.
Dude, he became a grandpa quick. Yeah, dude, he looked like he's aged 20 years and like the span of 5. It looks like a dwarf. I don't know how big he is, but
height wise.
Anyways, we don't need to spend too much more time on Liver King per se, but this is the hour-long video that More Plates, More Dates did, Derek, It's got 5.2 million views 2 years ago that basically exposed him by finding all these old emails of him trying to talk about what gear he's taken and what his regimen was. So
I will
anyway,
say,
go ahead.
I will say shout out. You know, I like Derek. His stuff's good. And I believe it was actually Vigorous Steve who made him the protocol and kind of popped the exposed the emails. Vigorous Steve has awesome stuff. He's a guy oh yeah, you'd know his stuff if you saw it online. I haven't really listened to him get into, you know, morality, like right and wrong and all that stuff, but I generally, he's one I agree with quite a bit on most topics. So
so the question I had for you, though, because we just talked about Liver King, and if he was just open about his steroid use, like, there wouldn't have been a problem.
Yep.
The problem was he lied about it for so many years, built up this following, became incredibly wealthy through a supplement company, and then gets exposed while, like, literally just days before still denying that he was taking steroids. But my question for you is peptides. I called you privately and we spoke about peptides, BPC 157 and just different things, because I'm interested. I'm going to be 36 at the end of this month and just wanting to be in like optimal health that I can be. Do you consider peptides now? Again, speaking with, shout out to Jonathan Newby. He's actually in our Logos Academy. He just competed in World Strongman competition it's tested, so it's only for natural strongmen. And in the master class, he finished top 10. So, and he's an Orthodox Christian. So shout out to Jonathan Newby if he's watching. In the Logos Academy, everybody knows Jonathan in the Logos Academy, but dude, a freaking beast. Anyways, he's totally natural. And we were talking about peptides because I think he tore his meniscus during the strongman competition. And now he's got to take a break and he can't do legs for like 3 or 4 months. And we're talking about peptides and stuff like that. Now his competition test for peptides if he went to go do that competition again. But for a regular person, would you consider taking peptides as no longer being natural?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the harder ones. I mean, we've talked about this before. Technically, all right, I'll give you the like liberal and then conservative approach. Like, dude, getting peanut butter is kind of hard. Like, you don't find peanut butter in nature. There's this level even with herbs and you're extracting certain compounds. And right, there's a difference between putting ginger in your salad and then like making a ginger tincture. So nicotine similar, like, is that, I don't know, are Alps natural? Like, you're not going to find it in nature. You have to take it, you have to boil it down, energy drinks. So I think I'm bringing up the fact that in my opinion, that already is starting to get a little bit gray.
Right.
Then particularly, I think the issue with testosterone and comparative to peptides, it's really framed as like not natural because it shuts down your own production, right? For when they take testosterone, they take anabolics, their own production gets shut off. Because someone asked me about enclomiphene, that's a medication that you take, down regulates estrogen receptor on your brain, and then your body produces more testosterone because men's testosterone gets converted into estrogen. I use it a lot in younger guys because it's quote unquote more natural. It doesn't shut down your fertility. It helps your body produce more, but we're modulating the estrogen receptor. So is that natural? Right. But, like ashwagandha, a very popular herb, raises testosterone by helping lower cortisol. It works on these enzymatic pathways in producing cortisol. It has minor SSRI properties to it. Like almost all these medications that we use, they're found naturally in nature, and then we extract them, and then we just 10 to 20x them.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm saying, like, what is natural and what's not, it's going to be pretty depending on the person. So, for instance, like peptide BPC 157, that is naturally found in your gut. So if we take some bacteria and we sensitize that and make more of it, and then you take it and put it in your gut, is that natural? Not really. You know what I mean? But it's still something that's naturally found within your body. So it's probably safe because you already produce it. But like anything, cyanide is naturally found in nature, so it'll kill you. So the peptide too, the thing that sucks about the peptides, they're harder to patent due to their small sequencing. Like they're not as large as a molecule. So we're probably not going to get good research on them ever, honestly, unless someone can find a way to attach a molecule on there that then because there are some, like tesamorelin is a growth hormone peptide. It's like $2 to $3 grand a month. You know what I mean? There's one company that used it in like HIV, muscle wasting, cancer. But those peptides just tell your brain, they hit the receptor in your brain to produce more growth hormone. So I think that those are probably safer than taking exogenous growth hormone, because with taking exogenous growth hormone, you can shoot up to a super physiological amount. Whereas if you're taking something and telling your body to produce more growth hormone, it's only going to be able to produce so much. Like that's with enclomiphene. Like you downregulate the receptor, you upregulate what's called LH and FSH, you produce more testosterone. You're going to be only able to produce as much testosterone as your body's able to. Whereas if I just shoot you with 500 mgs of test, like you're going to go over 3,000.
Right.
So I think the peptides are super promising. I like them a lot. I use them in my practice. They're becoming more and more popular. FDA came out with a statement though, and they're like, well, we don't know how safe these are, which it's like, okay, you guys approved all these other drugs. We won't go down the list of things that they've approved.
The list goes on.
Yeah, the list goes on. So it's tough, you know, and unfortunately that's where, you know, how can I scientifically say what's natural or not? You know, I mean, honestly, how would
I think you make a fair point about the delineation between natural and unnatural when, you know, me drinking a Ghost Energy and popping Alps are part of a non-naturally found mechanism within our society that creates products that we use. So I think there's still some delineation between full-on gear and, you know, peptides, I would think.
I would say so.
But, you know, I do find peptides, based on what I've seen and heard from other people, very, very promising. And for me, I plan on probably getting on TRT eventually. I'm trying to push that as far back as I can. But I see now peptides as a potential bridge until I get to my later 40s or 50s or whenever I decide to hop on TRT. So yeah, I think that it's a useful option and something that, yeah, it kind of blurs the line between natural and unnatural. But as you bring up there, that's a larger question regarding our general society and the lives that we're currently living.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. I think generally the question we're more asking is kind of like when we say natural, like what's safer to the body? What's less foreign? Because you could make an argument, testosterone cypionate, like what I use with my patients, it's testosterone and it has this extra carbon group on it. Mm-hmm. And you clean the carbon off and it looks exactly like the body. Whereas if I give you a peptide called kisspeptin goes into your brain and upregulates the production. So it's like, we don't really know how that's working in the brain. Like the same thing with enclomiphene, that comes from a woman's fertility drug called Clomid. Guys started using that PCT in the bodybuilding world. And then more and more people are like, well, half of this drug is garbage, the zuclomiphene, and they kept the enclomiphene. But we don't have long-term data on what enclomiphene does to guys if they're using it to boost their testosterone for 5, 10, 20 years. And I have that conversation with my patients. I have one patient, he's like 28. He's on enclomiphene. His test is like 1,400.
Whoa.
So,
damn.
Yeah, it works. I do think...
that was just to hit some of these super chats.
Yeah.
Chair Throwing Italian says, expose the goal. So, guys, we got a goal today of 20 super chats. And what those are going towards is to help me and my wife actually get down to DebateCon in Nashville with the Wilsons, the Jim Bobs, Meg Bob, Jim Bob. I think Jake Rattlesnake's going to be there, and just to get that there and participate in DebateCon. So if you guys contribute, you appreciate the show, you have any questions or comments, feel free to donate and help me raise some funds to get my wife and I down there. That would be greatly appreciate that. And then Justin Hinley, we kind of answered the question earlier but I just want to give him a special thank you for the $2 super chat. And then System Blower as well. Thank you for the $5, brother. And is there any more you want to say about enclomiphene? I mean, I messaged you about potentially getting on it just to see, just to boost testosterone. And so the question specifically, is it only for TRT without shutting down test and fertility?
Yeah. So you could take enclomiphene now. It down regulates the estrogen receptor on your brain. So basically you're telling your brain, oh, I don't have as much estrogen. And people get scared of estrogen. I like estrogen. I think estrogen is actually great. It increases your bone mass density, nitric oxide for blood flow, good for your brain, cholesterol. Estrogen is good. What we don't want is bad testosterone to estrogen ratio. We don't want an overabundance because they antagonize each other. Like with marijuana, you have CBD and THC. And so if you get on one way or the other, it's like, it's not going to, you're going to have a bad time. So with enclomiphene, it seems more natural, when we're asking kind of like that question of what's natural and what's not, because it keeps your fertility going. Now, if he's asking if you can use enclomiphene while on TRT, I don't think that's a good viable option, because when you're on TRT, it shuts down your fertility. And enclomiphene, in my opinion, is not strong enough to overcome that inhibition. I've not seen that. I've seen it work very, very slightly, and I wouldn't rely on that if you want to remain fertile while going on TRT. And then the other thing with enclomiphene is that it can get vision changes, because your pituitary sits above your optic chiasm. And they think that the stimulation of the pituitary pushes on the optic chiasm. So guys have vision changes, floaters. So if you stay on the low dose, you're usually fine. But I'd say past that, you should check with a practitioner to get more. Depends on your goal. Like every guy's different. I don't really know System Blower as much, like what he's looking to do, but it's an option. There are lots of people in the TRT realm that hate it. They're like, it's garbage. Like, just get on TRT. Like, don't waste your time with that. But all the influencers have different opinions. They'd say, don't waste your time on natty stuff. Just get up on TRT. Don't waste your time on TRT. Just get on oxandrolone. Don't waste your way, just get on Japan. So it's like, okay, man, just like I try and sit in the middle.
Right. And System Blower said, I was saying ENC enclomiphene only instead of test for TRT long-term focus.
Yeah, I've done it. I just tell guys, like, we don't have a lot of long-term data on it. I personally think it's probably fine. Like, again, it was a fertility drug that we have lots of data for women. Young, healthy men, we don't really know over a long period of time if that's going to cause, estrogen receptor problems in the brain or whatnot.
Right.
So it's not enough data.
Shout out to Austin DeTulio for the $5 super chat. He says, I'll see you in Nashville, brother. Well, thank you so much, Austin. Appreciate the support. And Mud hit us with his workout regimen. He said, pine needle tea and venison heart and back straps is all I live on. I chew trees down like a beaver and then squat the logs for my workouts.
Bro.
Mud, sounds like you got your testosterone's just fine, my man.
You should be selling that in an ebook, man. And you should have a YouTube channel, bro.
What business school did you go to? That of Liver King?
He's actually a inner circle member at Liver King.
It sounds like primal ancestral ways there, Mud.
Yes.
Pretty soon you'll be drinking cow blood in Africa.
I think that's
shout out to Mud. Thank you so much, bro. He's been a COTEL crew member for 28 months. God bless you, bro. Thank you very much for the support. All right. Now let's get into the next guy. This is a guy that I kind of have a beef with. To me, he's the Adam Sosnick of the fitness world. So Adam Sosnick of the PBD podcast is like the one person that I cannot stand to listen to. I think it's his I don't know if it's his arrogance or what exactly it is, his ignorance in addition to his arrogance, but I cannot listen to Adam Sosnick. Can't stand that guy. But in the fitness world, the guy that has always kind of got under my skin is Dr. Mike Israetel. And he's the exercise scientist, the largest exercise scientist on YouTube. He's a Jewish individual who is not a practicing Jew. He identifies as an atheist and agnostic. And he kind of had a very public beef going back and forth with Coach Greg. So anybody who's familiar, and again, if you watch some of the fitness stuff online, Coach Greg or Greg Doucette, former IFBB pro bodybuilder, Canadian, had called out Mike Israetel multiple times because he coaches people for bodybuilding, and his own physique is wanting. And he's been trying to get his IFBB pro card. That's like his biggest goal in life. but he just never comes with like a dieted physique that's aesthetic. And you'll see even in the videos where he's talking, you can see he's got like a pot belly, and he's very arrogant about his teachings and what he believes to be true in regarding to fitness and muscle building and all this different stuff. So I figured I found this video because we're wanting to dive into some of his stuff, and we're going to watch shorts. You know, he's like pro pornography. He thinks dumb people believe in God. He cries when he talks to ChatGPT. Apparently, he doesn't know that how you prompt ChatGPT, it always is going to reconfirm whatever your bias is. So, which is, you know, it curates information based on the way you ask the question. So, apparently he just thinks he has this intimate relationship with ChatGPT. Like we're going to play a short in which he talks about he's cried 4 times within the last week talking to ChatGPT, and he waits for the day in which ChatGPT acquires a robot body so that he can finally actually venerate God. So this string of videos are just funny moments, and you can kind of get a feel for some of his content. He makes a lot. This where when you're talking about trend and some of the drugs that make men homosexual, there is like a running joke in the fitness community that Mike Israetel is gay or bisexual, because he makes a lot of gay jokes. You know, it's normal to make gay jokes when you're with your buddies, you know, mocking each other and having fun. But he just makes a lot of jokes about how he finds other men attractive, where it's almost like, I don't think you're joking anymore, bro.
Nervous game, bro. He's going too far.
What are your thoughts on Dr. Mike?
Yeah, you know, I kind of like we said earlier, I try and tap my hat to the respect that it takes to get the DR in front of your name. He's obviously has some form of an IQ level to make it through all that stuff. But again, I think one of the major issues is a lot of these scientists don't have any type of basic philosophy. So their whole epistemology science, right? Like, how, let me look at it here, and then I can make moral claims. Like, this is good, this is bad. And so it's like pornography is good because I release dopamine. And it's like, okay, well, meth helps you release dopamine too. So is that good? You know, and again, it's tough. It's like 60 to 70% of the stuff he says, I'm like, yeah, that sounds good to me. And then again, the other thing is they're entertainers. You know what I mean? Like his channel, it's entertaining. I've watched some of his stuff. He has good openings. He has good hooks. And then unfortunately, though, it becomes clickbaity. And that's what I was saying. Then they kind of get formed into a line of thinking, like, what does their audience want ultimately? Yeah,
well, that's where I appreciate Huberman. We're going to get into Andrew Huberman, but he just doesn't do like the controversy as much. Like it feels like the fitness industry now, they're always making like drama videos. And the same with Coach Greg. It's like everything that guy puts out now is just like creating or stirring drama or criticizing something or somebody. And it's like, well, what happened to just like making quality fitness content? It's like just quality information, I guess they assume has been so saturated that now it just turns into drama and getting people their sort of dopamine kicks in regards to controversy. But I will agree, Dr. Mike, whoever does his videos and his videography and his setup, it is very much quality. But I just find he as an individual, something's off-putting about it. You know, he's
pompous. He's this is where, like, you know, we'll get to some of Huberman stuff. I'm similar. That I'm like, hey, here's the data I found. Here's the opinion that I have. Here's how I think this can be transferred into practical knowledge and usable knowledge. Versus there are people of like, if you think red dye 40 needs to be banned, you're stupid.
Right. And that's going to be Lane Norton when we get into him, what you're pointing out for anybody who's not following what Dr. Mo's saying. Lane Norton, the PhD in nutrition, is against the idea that the dyes in our food are problematic to our diet and health. And that's why, and we're going to show once we move through here and get to some of the X tabs, that he posts on X. One, he's pro-COVID. Same with Jeff Nipper. They're both pro-COVID vaccine, again, based on the science. And they're both critical of RFK for getting these things out of our food, which are not even legal in Europe. And it's everybody I've ever talked to who goes to Europe as an American, you're like, wow, dude, I freaking ate tons of food there and I never felt as bloated as I do here. It's like, yeah, they do have better quality food, generally speaking. Not that you can't get quality food here, you can,
Yep.
but their governments at least have taken positive action to taking out toxins and detrimental elements within their food. And then you got people like Lane Norton arguing for them.
Yeah.
Maybe not, explicitly saying we need them, but saying that, oh, well, these aren't problematic. These certainly aren't the things. And I'm sure he probably feels the same way about fluoride and every controversial issue. Him and Nipper think that RFK Jr. is taking away people's vaccines. It's like, dude, what?
Well, and like I said, it becomes one of those things where you say something like, and look, if I had to pick, and this is funny with Lane, but if I had to pick 100 grams of sugar a day or red dye 40, I'm like, okay, I will do a little bit of red dye 40 instead of 100 sugar. I mean, there's a level of these things that are on how unhealthy are they? I mean, like if you have to drink bottle out of a plastic water bottle and you get BPA, it's a straw on the camel's back, but it's probably better than not being dehydrated all day. Right. So there's a level of how bad are these things for your body? Like what's worse, an apple or a Snickers bar? It's like, well, I don't know. Are you diabetic? Right. Honestly, Snickers bars, like they have a little bit of protein. They have a little bit of fat. Like how much protein and fat have you had today? Like you might actually be better off depending on your goal. That's where I'm not completely against if it fits your macros kind of thing. And overall liver toxin burden. There's a lot more to take into consideration, I guess is what I would say. And unfortunately, when you say things like, well, I don't think red dye 40 is that bad, you end up being like, well, red dye 40, we shouldn't even worry about it. I mean, they get to the point where then they're having to defend it. It's even with the jab. It's like, dude, we do not have data on it. Like they were grilling RFK on that. And they're like, do you know how many people died? And he's like, no, I don't, because the data was terrible. And we don't know how many people died because people who are dying in motorcycle accidents were told that they died from the virus. So it's like he had reasonable points, but ultimately it becomes a semantic mudslinging fest, right? And unfortunately, that stuff sells too. So I get it.
Yeah. Somebody asked, who's my favorite? Screwed Up Nevsky says, who is your favorite lifting YouTuber? I like Eric Bugenhagen. I like, Sticky Ricky, Rick Del Hagen. Juice Del Hagen, Thick Rick. He's pretty funny. I'd say Eric Bugenhagen's probably one of my favorite fitness content creators. He's hilarious. Former WWE guy. Do you know who Eric Bugenhagen is?
No.
Oh, dude. You gotta watch some of his stuff. The Boogs, absolutely. He's good. Rachel says she likes lean beef patty. I have to say, out of all the female influencers, she does not overly sexualize herself. I mean, she will make videos but generally speaking, even though if you go and look at her comment section, all these guys are like begging her like to do OnlyFans and like show them stuff, and she doesn't do it. So I will give Lean Beef Patty credit for that. And she does appear to be totally natural and just works out regularly. So
did Mike just do a video? He's done one, I think, on lean beef patty. I feel like I saw one pop up in my feed. 6 hours ago, exercise scientist critiques lean beef patty's training. Mike just did a video, literally 6 hours on her.
Oh, wow. Well, we can check it out if you want, but let's just watch a few of these. We don't have to watch. It's an 8-minute clip, so it's going to be a little bit long, but just so you guys get a little taste of Dr. Mike and the quality of content that he offers. I mean, he does give better information. This is obviously a bit of a funny reel somebody put together and kind of, chipping at his heels here.
My fair subject, you may rise a member of my kingdom. If you don't track your rest times, you have a tendency to scroll on your phone, flirt with the girls, flirt with the guys, flirt with grandma, flirt with grandpa, get yourself into orgies, typical gym stuff. You happen to walk into your bedroom and there are 3 random waifu Japanese girls that just could.
And for context, he does have an Asian wife. So the guy is married and his wife is Asian.
Couldn't wait for you to return. And you figure, Grandma, you let these bitches in again? All right, no sleep for me tonight. Get to doing whatever you do in bed. Hey, that's your thing. I'm not going to judge you. Tom Hardy is not only incredibly handsome, but he's an incredibly talented actor. is also, I just want to meet him. I just want to be around him. I wonder how he smells. Do you guys ever think things like that? I don't. That's sinful. To those of you who have never had sex, refer to what pretend sex would probably be like, and then get a pretend glute pump. Someday you'll have the real thing. I promise. Maybe not. At least with a robot, hopefully soon. That's my plan. All of my sex is theoretical. So I don't like guys with big upper bodies. And I actually look at legs. Like if a guy has big, like, bitch, shut the fuck up. Where have you been my whole life to get me laid? Nowhere. But Dr. Mike, we're not always famous and wealthy, and you're really short and ugly. Yeah, I know, God damn it. But bitch gets curious. You just turn to the side and pull your shorts a little bit. And she's like, ay, papi, ¿dónde está la gluta? See, I speak Spanish too. And I have no idea what I said. Without clothes, at the beach, at the gym, at picking up your kids from kindergarten, wherever you choose to be naked, you end up having the situation where someone sees a thick back and they know what they're looking for. They're like, oh. And your girlfriend's like, is that guy big? Or like, what? You're like, yes, baby, shut up. He'll hear you. Yes, he's fucking huge. I want to be like him. I wish I was him. I hate myself. She's like, holy fuck. But it's true.
Hi, everyone. I'm Henry Cavill, and I play
Jesus
Geralt.
Christ.
Yeah.
Dude, I wake up every day and I tell myself I'm the straightest man that's ever been.
It's kind of funny. It's really kind of gay, but it's still kind of funny.
Hilarious. That's
Yeah.
That's why. And by the way, guys, Dr. Mo has not watched this.
No, I haven't seen these.
I found this in prep for today, and I thought, oh my God, I have to play this. No.
I feel
Orthodox perspective, I can't take it. No, you're going to take more, and you're going to like it. Orthodox perspective. You're going to enjoy it.
Ugh. I'm uncomfortable with a laugh. You know what I mean?
I know, dude. I'm telling you, he makes all these very strange comments.
Born, and it's all lies. Henry Cavill, my God, man. I don't even know what my name is. Showing up without clothes to a restaurant was the bold move, which I do all the time, which my parole officer says is not wise. I get hit on all the time. You guys probably figured this out. I'm handsome. Take a look. That's quite good looking. And I'm really tall. I'm like, what am I, Scott the video guy? 6'8"? 6'8", approximately. I'm 6'7" on a bad day. I feel bad on those days. And bitches love money. And you know your boy has 27 Lamborghinis. Yes, that's right. The butlers went crazy and bought a bunch more. So I'm just kind of over it. And I'm just not even into sex anymore. But however, to displace the moon by an inch, if it was at Earth's gravity ground level, not a ton. I'm just asking for basic theoretical physics. And as you knock them out, the chemical elements reform, fuse, and fissile material is created. You get essentially an enormous nuclear bomb as just the detonation of such a contact. The gym gets sucked into this essentially mini wormhole you've created for a short amount of time. Everyone in 100 square kilometers instantly is vaporized to death. Where the gym was, let's say the gym was in Connecticut. Connecticut is now a 500-mile every which way crater, which the Atlantic Ocean fills up. The good news is that the polar bears will have more ice caps because the ocean levels have sunk.
Bro, he sounds like
it's bad for all of them.
It reminds me of my conversations at 17 or 18, like with guys who first smoked weed. You know what I mean?
I know, right?
Yeah. Bro, what if we can move the moon like 1 inch? Like, what would happen?
Oh my gosh.
It's entertaining though.
It is entertaining, and it goes on. If you guys want some more good laughs, you guys can check this out. I thought it was hilarious. I watched the whole thing before we
I feel uncomfortable, man. Gotta go pray after
that. Here is him talking about that if you believe in God, then you must be one of these low IQ individuals, because everybody smart already realizes that God's not real.
Right-wing folks. Newsflash. God probably isn't real. And thus, while religion has maybe excellent cultural things it does, God's probably not real. High IQ, mature individuals almost unanimously understand God not to be real. Or put it better, there is very compelling evidence that God is made up, and there's no evidence that God's real to anyone that's really, really thinking about it. So, Abrahamic kind of God, like big white guy in the sky with a beard, that sort of understanding. Like, don't come at me with that. The universe is God. Sweet, whatever. Token up. I'll token up with you. Great. I agree.
I told you, you
Like,
knew it.
folks.
So if you believe in one of those Abrahamic gods, then you're a moron, according to, again, and this is where these people, they just step out of their lane. He thinks because he has a PhD in exercise science and he has a very large YouTube channel promoting workouts, physical fitness, muscle building, stuff like that, that somehow he's clever enough to speak on religion and apologetics. That's obviously my PhD is in religious studies. So for somebody to make that claim, it's like, dude, have you looked into arguments for God? Like, they're actually pretty convincing when you are serious about it. And to dismiss people as low IQ when actually you basically have like a 20-year-old atheist opinion, like it's not a sophisticated thing. And people like the Richard Dawkins of the world, they're not exactly thriving online anymore. It's not like tons of people are flocking to atheism. But of course he always has, like you talked about, the appeal to morality. He has no basis for morality. I mean, his worldview is just a hodgepodge of things, and because he doesn't believe in God and he reads science, somehow he's more rational and more true.
Well, and I would ask you, right? That's kind of your realm, and we'll get that even more with Lane. If you were honestly having dinner with him, right? And he's like, well, I don't think God's real, therefore right and wrong. How would you walk him through and be like, dude, how do you make moral claims? Like, if you were actually, and like, you could dunk on him and say like, well, actually you're number one. I'd say, according to your argument, there was the guy on Twitter who's like, I have the highest IQ in the world and I believe Christ is Lord.
Right.
Did you see that? You know what I said?
Was he Korean? South Korean?
I commented underneath it and I said, also with the man with the lowest IQ in the world, I believe Christ is Lord. So I got a good amount of likes for that. But you know what I mean? Like, how this is one thing where you guys
lied.
What's that?
I said neither one of you guys lied. That was good of me.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, to me, that's part of the issue is they don't even see that, whether it's Mike or Huberman or Lane in particular. He's one that, it seems like a lot of these guys like us, we didn't get this far by being dogmatic. I mean, I know now we're pretty dogmatic. I think there's that level, especially with the Orthodox, but according to their worldview, it's still should presuppose that they could be wrong, right? But they don't presuppose their morality could be wrong. So I don't know, like, how you have that conversation, be like, hey, Mike, you're disproving God. Like, you don't have a framework, right, to talk about these things. Like, what is God? What is God to you? What does it even mean? And so for someone like Lane, who's going to say, well, we need science. Science is what we will use to make the world better. Yeah, I mean, what's your verbiage to a guy like that? Like, if you're actually having dinner with him, how would you be able to walk him out of his worldview?
Well, in regards to the idea that science can build a totalizing system, I mean, I think that'd be a different conversation with Lane than with Mike Israetel in regards to God. I mean, first thing for somebody like Mike Israetel, if I was talking directly to him, I'd begin with the appeal to universal morality, because I think that's the easiest one for people to grok. Obviously, as Orthodox Christians and our online apologetics and debates, we always go to the tag argument, but oftentimes that's just kind of beyond people's ability to cognize, because you actually have to maintain categories to understand what's being actually said in the tag argument. And so just appealing to the fine-tuning argument, the lawgiver argument. Is there a universal moral law? Every law has a lawgiver, therefore there must be a universal moral lawgiver, therefore God. So I would probably appeal to some of these basic apologetic arguments, even though I don't think necessarily they're the strongest ultimately, but I think they're the easiest for somebody who's not in that world to be able to follow and at least bring into questions. You can do the law of contingency. So the fact that something exists and could or could not exist means that it must be dependent on something that cannot not exist, therefore God. That's like so there must be something non-contingent for contingent things to exist. So I would probably appeal to something like that for him. But, you know, it comes out of a point of pride because he began by criticizing right-wing people because right-wing people criticize his homosexual jokes and his pro-pornography stance. And he's equating to, as well, I have another clip of him talking about anti-Semitism, is that these right-wing guys are anti-Semitic because they keep bringing up his Jewish heritage. So I think he's got a little bit of a bone to pick with the quote-unquote right-wing in general, even though that's the majority of the fitness audience. So it's not like there's a bunch of progressive guys out there that are watching fitness content. So that's probably how I'd approach with Mike. I mean, with Lane, that's just a bigger, I would say probably Lane's a little bit, he seems, I don't know.
You know what I'm saying? They're both, how do I say that nicely? From an IQ standpoint, I don't think Mike's necessarily low. Lane actually seems like, you don't get this far.
Ignorant.
Yeah. And that's the thing with Lane.
Outside of exercise science.
Well, and for instance, with Lane, what I appreciate, I remember he used to be I think one of his first shows, he did keto or he did low carb. And now he is definitely a calories in, calories out, which I am a calories in versus calories out guy. The issue that they circumvent is everything you do modulates how many calories you're going to burn. That's the hard part, where they're like, okay, if you want to lose weight, you can probably almost always lose weight easier on a carnivore or a keto diet because you're just fuller, right? It actually is the mechanism by which allows you to eat less calories. So if you're just eating bread all the time, like, you're going to gain weight. And then you get into micronutrients and a wide variety of other things. So it's not like they're wrong. It's just also, as a doc, like, that's the other thing with me is, like, I have to implement the change as a doctor. So it's not like you can just give me data. I have to figure out, this person came into my office, how do I help them lose weight? I can just say calories in versus calories out, see you later. But it's like, no, actually intermittent fasting is great. Ketogenic diet's great. Carnivore is great. People have implementing these things and lost weight, where you look at a lot of the people that did DASH diet, or they did like vegan diets or plant-based diet. It's just harder. There are people that can do it. Don't get me wrong, but people pay me for results. They come in, they pay me, and I sit down and I try and help them overcome a problem. So data doesn't usually help. Like, you have to give them a plan. Like, I can give you all the data in the world. And that's one of the things from a from morality. It's like, okay, we have all this data from COVID. Now what?
Right.
Data can't tell you what to do next, unfortunately.
Right.
So,
yeah. And I think for Lane Norton, he thinks that there's some type of like neutral window in which information can be interpreted. Yeah. And this is, again, just a general problem with these accredited fitness influencers, is they're constantly appealing to science, and they fail to realize, because it's really a philosophical question, which again isn't super difficult. A lot of regular people, you don't have to be a philosopher to recognize that information isn't value neutral. It's value laden based on the paradigm in which you interpret it from.
Yeah.
And so there is no set of scientific facts which can describe the world, because those must be interpreted and fit in within a paradigm. And science itself is not a paradigm. It's a method for information. It's a method on empirical studies of nature, things that can be measured and things that can be averaged to find statistical data. That is not a worldview. That is not a paradigm. You know, empiricism is more of a worldview or a paradigm. Science can fit in my Orthodox Christian worldview. It doesn't totalize it. So science can fit into many different worldviews, many different paradigms. And these guys just assume that they're based on this academic scientific paradigm. And when they interpret the data, this is the true interpretation. It's like, no, what are you talking about?
Yep. And they're presupposing that there is true data. They're presupposing objective data. And then, like you're saying, they're prioritizing objective and material world too. So,
right. Mud wanted to clarify that he is actually Liver King's father. He just looks young. So apparently your genes didn't pass down to your son, Mud, because he looks like he's 65 years old and he's 47.
Too much liver and anabolic steroids to age me quicker.
Pablo Winskabar throws in two, says, what does Michael think about Sistanche? What is that?
Sistanche. They say Sistanche in your pants.
As a SARM.
That's kind of like the joke. There's some evidence for Sistanche with raising testosterone. I'm not familiar. This is one of the harder parts when you get into with herbs, they often have a variety of mechanisms. And this is why something like Chinese medicine, they have kind of their weird ways of dealing with qi and different organ systems and whatnot, hot, cold. Now, the issue with most herbs is, in my opinion, it's not usually a 1-to-1 ratio. For like Sustantia is not that well known. Not a lot of people use it. I actually did a podcast with Lucas Owen of Boost Your Biology. He's a big fan. He uses it a lot. But I don't think with a lot of the herbs you can isolate a mechanism. So it may regulate androgen receptors. That's like with like same thing with terkesterone. It's not even an anabolic. It actually works on mTOR, mammalian target of rapamycin. But the issue is like when you're pulling certain levers, it's not like increasing the RPM on every vehicle is going to make it go faster. It depends on like what gear you're in. I know these are bad examples, but like with Sustantia, ashwagandha is probably the more popular one that's used to boost testosterone. Lots of peer-reviewed data. I see it on the labs. Guys will do 600 to 1,200 milligrams of ashwagandha. A couple months, they can raise their testosterone 50, 60%. They don't feel better. And I've not seen Sustantia as a SARM. That could be. The SARMs do scare me, honestly, though. There's LGD. There is RAD 140. There's an MK20 something. It's not MK677. That's a growth hormone peptide. Honestly, I've had guys who use SARMs, and I can always tell when they come to me because their labs are so weird. Like they have high prolactin, their FSH and LH are shut off. Their testosterone is actually low because if you're modulating the receptor, then your body, if it has internal mechanisms, will lower your testosterone, right? So if your body says, I need this much collagen synthesis or whatever is going intracellularly, right? Testosterone goes into your nucleus, says, build muscle, increase collagen synthesis. And if there's feedback mechanisms that are watching that, and you modulate the receptor so a little bit of testosterone does more, we have seen that then lower guys' testosterone. I've seen that with some SARMs. 20, 30 guys I can think of that have come to me. I don't think we know enough yet. So if anyone's like, hey, I'm taking Sustantia as a SARM, that mechanism in particular, I'd be worrisome about. But I have seen evidence with Sustantia helping guys with energy, drive, motivation, and also increasing testosterone. So if it worked as a SARM, my general opinion is most time it actually could even lower testosterone. But I don't think there's that much data out on Sustantia. And if he's got studies, like, I'd be happy to take a look at him.
Mm-hmm. Victor G throws in $2, says, what's your take on being 12% body fat all year or being sub 12%?
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, it depends on the guy. This is where, again, you kind of get into that like mesomorph, ectomorph kind of thing. I think there's something to be said about that. Some people can bulk easier. There's probably something going on with genetics. So I think it's doable. Your issue, and this happens, an example I use, like you want to know a guy with low testosterone is going to be like a natural bodybuilder a week or two before their show.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Right. They're caloric deficit. They're doing everything that they can to maintain muscle. Their cortisol super high. Testosterone is a hormone that, when things are good, your testosterone goes up. And that's why you see, power lifters, you have bulking and cutting phases. Like there's a reason that through bro science, we do that because it's so much easier on your body.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's very difficult. Like if you're in a city to be both expanding and cleaning at the same time, right? Like a lot of times, like, let's clean the house out. You just get it dirty. You know what I mean? That's what you got to do. So it's very difficult. It's like, okay, are we building onto the house? Or are we cleaning it up? You can do them both at the same time, but a lot of times it's easier to prioritize one over the other. So to me, if you find a good body weight you feel good at, then I think, yeah, you can walk around, right? You probably walk around sub 12, 9 to, you're probably 9 to 12.
I would say, yeah, throughout the year, I probably am more around 15, but during the summer, if I'm going to go somewhere with my shirt off, like the beach or something, yeah, it's between 10 and 12.
Yeah.
That's good. I don't plan on ever getting on stage, so I don't diet super, super hard. I'll just fast, lower calorie intake, be hungry, lose some belly fat, make sure the abs look decent, and then, okay, I'm good.
Yeah, and you know, my overall opinion really for aging, and there's been other people to talk about this, is enzymatic resiliency. So, you know, when you are eating carbs all the time, you have enzymatic pathways in your body that you prioritize. Glycolysis, right? Gluconeogenesis, like you're using lots of glucose. And for the vast majority of people, like this is how you end up in diabetes for a variety of reasons. You're just over consuming carbohydrates. But a lot of people, when they're in a carbohydrate heavy diet and then they try and switch over to like a ketogenic diet, it's really hard. Like anyone who's done ketogenic diet the first time, it's difficult because you're not used to producing ketones, and your body has to take those ketones, move around. There's enzymes that have to use that. Right. It's similar to drinking alcohol. So if you haven't been drinking in a long time, you start drinking alcohol, it's going to be a lot harder for your body.
Right.
And in my opinion, part of being resilient and aging properly is having enzymatic flexibility. You know, and that's what's awesome about Orthodox. We do that. We will go through fast. We'll have to go through feasting. Yeah. Like, you know, the monks probably wouldn't have any problem going into ketogenesis.
Well, it's not, Dr. Pete, when I talked with him, that's why he argues one of the reasons why the Mediterranean diet is referred to as one of the healthiest diets is because some of those studies they've done on Mount Athos, obviously they're eating vegetarian, but the Orthodox lifestyle of eating meat, going to periods where you don't eat meat, you have to eat basically vegetarian, and then to where you can't eat meat again, does exactly what you're talking about. It keeps the body more flexible in what it can digest.
Yep. Makes sense to me.
Blue Skittle had a question for $5. Thank you very much, Blue Skittle. He says, what's your guys' favorite shoulder exercise? And based on the comments, me and Jim Bob have a friendly rivalry, but I just don't appreciate you guys going after my buddy's shoulders all the time.
Yeah, I know.
I saw some of the comment. Now, I know Jim Bob, and he's really not that small. He's a normal size guy. He's basically the same height as me. But everybody thinks that his shoulders are tiny.
Yeah.
Based on the way he looks on camera. So if we want to answer it seriously, I do tons. When I do a chest day, I do so much pressing. I actually don't do a whole lot of shoulder press. I'll incorporate it once in a while. And I already have a huge foundation. Like I was talking about this with my wife. I've been working out consistently for a long time. And I played sports, so I've always kind of been active. And so me being natural, it's just because I've been really consistent for a long period. But anyways, I'm watching the people comment in the chat. It's hilarious.
It's kind of a normal guy.
God, all love for Jim Bob. Shout out to Jim and Medbog. We love you guys. I don't know what's wrong with these people in my live chat, Jim Bob. I will ban them immediately. I don't know who these people are coming in here questioning your shoulder size. They're out of here. And anyways, I don't do a whole lot of chest or shoulder press, but doing lateral raises with machines, dumbbells. I mean, I just did back and shoulders today, and then a lot of rear delts. I think if you're talking about shoulders, I think most people have totally underdeveloped rear delts. And so if you want your shoulders to look big, definitely, you need front delts. And I feel like I work those enough just through chest exercises and all the presses exercises I do. But definitely do lateral raises, what I mean, not your lats, but lateral raises and then rear delts. So you can build a full round shoulder.
Yep. Yeah, I do. I almost always do lat raises and forward raises. I don't do a lot of the shoulder press. I've messed my neck up in shoulder before. I also really like doing upright rows. That really like kind of gets everything depending on the angle that you're at. And like you're saying, then when you're kind of doing, some back work, like depending on the angle, you're going to be hitting those rear delts. So,
yeah. And Blue Skittle wanted to clarify. It was a serious question. I wasn't thinking about Jim Bob. Good. I don't know what these assholes in my chat are doing, but you're not allowed to go after my friend here, guys. Stop it. Brain Rot Goyam throws in 10, says, ever heard of high intensity training It's a time under tension, 1 set to failure program. Yeah, I know Mike Metzner. I've watched his stuff. I've tried it myself. But I personally, for at least for my body, the results I've gotten, I like 3 sets, 8, sometimes 8 to 15 reps, depending on the exercise. Personally. So that's just my thoughts. But yeah, I'm very familiar with high intensity training. What are your thoughts on it, Dr. Mo?
Yeah. And right, 4 Hour Body. I can't. Right, was the guy Tim Ferriss did that book. Basically, they just did 1 exercise to failure other time, and you put on size. I think a lot of people overcomplicate this. I mean, it's fine when you want to get to that next level. If you're powerlifting, if you're wanting to step on stage, I think for most people, it's like, dude, go in there, pick 3 exercises, do 8 sets, 3 or 4 sets, 8 to 12 reps. You're going to put on size. You're going to get the pump. You're going to feel good. But it's also fun to switch things up. I mean, doing some supersets, some drop sets, try that out, do some high intensity, or was it German volume or Bulgarian volume training where they're like doing 10 sets of 10 in squats. So I'm always a fan of just switching things up, honestly.
Yeah. Well, Rachel, she just made a good point. She said, in my mid 40s, I lean closer to higher intensity, less volume. Recovery is not as easy as it used to be. Fair point. Very fair point. So again, and you have to see how your body responds to it. To be clear, I do go to failure when I work out. So there is always at least 1 set in every exercise I do that is to total failure. If not multiple sets to total failure. I just don't do the low per se, the low volume, high intensity routine. But a lot of, as we'll talk about with Michael Hearn, that's kind of his method. So I am not to say that, again, that's what the problem with the fitness industry is. They just buy the school. Oh, high intensity training. That's the only way you should be training. That's how you get told, or the opposite, high volume. I think Israel is more of a volume guy. And I just to me, when I go to the gym, I'm chasing the pump. So I just want to get pumped up. I want my muscles to be engorged with blood. Yeah. I want to look like a superhero, and then drink my BCAAs and creatine and go home and read my books. That's what
I just did a video. It's called The Perfect Pump Protocol. They'll be coming out, where I just chatted about that. You go to the gym and you're like a couple sets in, you're like, oh, where's the pump, man? It's not coming, man. It's not coming. And, as Arnold said in Pumping Iron, like the pump is one of the best feelings of life, honestly. And I talked about, you actually have like receptors inside your cell that can feel when it's expanding. There's actually some evidence that's actually anabolic, right? People used to think it was just aesthetics, but you have a positive feedback loop. Dude, when I go to the gym, like I get a little bit of a pump on, sorry, forgive me for my vanity, but there's something like, oh, wow, that looks good. I'm going to keep going. Maybe I can increase, and you're getting blood flow. That's how you regenerate. So I live for the pump. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not trying to get stronger. I'm not trying to, it's good. I can come on the stream, feel good, have energy, and not tear myself into pieces in the gym anymore either. I'm over that.
Yeah.
Personally, you do you.
Yeah. Rachel says water, sodium, creatine, and carbs.
There it is.
There you
water,
go.
salt.
If you want to pump. She's nailing it though. Like that's exactly what you need. And so, yeah. All right. Well, we're kind of, we got 3 more super chats. I got to pee real quick. I'm going to bring this one up. This is a question for you. And then, we'll hit these next 2 and then we'll get back to our videos. We have so many more videos and things to show. So, gentleman throws in 349 says, I do weighted calisthenics to gain mass. Well, all right. I think there's other ways you could gain mass, but if that's your thing, that's your thing. That's what you like. You got to, whatever your fitness routine is, you got to find something you like,
And I actually like that one too, just because how many people end up squatting, leg press, extensions, but yet I've done that where I haven't been incorporating it to muscle memory, like playing basketball, and I go out there and I'll pull my hamstring. I pulled my hamstring 2 weeks ago. because I wasn't running and stuff. So your muscles get stronger. And then when you go and use them, it's actually problematic. So I'm about
guilty as charged on that. Brady Harvey throws in $20. Thank you so much, Brady. He says, I'm late, so I'll watch back from the start, but this is the perfect topic as I'm about to go carnivore and water fast on Wednesdays and Fridays. But how would you guys recommend keeping mass as best as possible on carnivore? Brady, we're going to answer your question. I'm going to pull it down just because it's covering Dr. Mo's face and he's getting ready to answer it for you. So go ahead. I'm going to use the restroom real quick.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, most of the times I am still under the opinion I chatted about earlier about calories in versus calories out. Now the thing to remember with protein is like carbohydrates can be turned into fat. Fat can be turned into carbohydrates. None of them can be turned into protein. And that's why with the carnivore, with the ketogenic diet, like an easy one to think about is glutamine can be converted into glucose, right? So having extra glutamine, but what your body is always going to do is prioritize the energy source that is easiest for it. So, if you're working out and you have a bunch of glucose, like your body's going to prioritize the gummy bears or the granola or the honey or whatever you're doing. But if you're in a fasted state, it's going to like, well, let's take some of these triglycerides, right? It's going to go into your fat cells, or if you've had butter or if you peanut butter or fats, your body has to break that down and do what's called gluconeogenesis. So it takes that and depends on where you're at. If you're in ketogenic, in a carnivore, if you're in a legit carnivore, depending on your opinion on what's considered carnivore, like if you're just doing meat, or I know there are people that consider honey, I think even on the carnivore, maybe even blueberries, right? Wasn't even Paul Saladino like pushing blueberries on carnivore? Which doesn't like there's certain, yeah. So, I mean, really at the end of the day, it is calories in versus calories out. You're probably going to be getting sufficient amount of protein. And as long as you're getting a sufficient amount of protein and you're not in a caloric deficit, you shouldn't really lose muscle mass. Once you're in a caloric deficit, your body has to it's got to find ways to create energy because you don't have enough. And muscle is expensive. It's heavy. It prioritizes fat because fat is cushioned. So my general 2 cents for people who are doing carnivore or keto, it's like, if you get enough protein and you're somewhere or like even a slight caloric deficit, you should be fine. But everyone's different. You know what I mean? It depends on how stressed you are, what kind of intensity training you're doing. Are you doing a little bit of like walking? Because like, I won't get into energy usage, but most people are familiar. Like your first like 5 seconds of energy usage is from creatine. Then you get into glucose, then you get into triglycerides, if you have all of those, right? And that's why all the creatine studies are coming out. And people are like, wow, how interesting is it that if you've had a poor night of sleep, that if you mega dose creatine, 10, 15, 20 grams, you feel good. Well, That's because when you have terrible sleep, you wreck your insulin sensitivity and your body's ability to use glucose. And that's why you drag. Like you're like, oh, okay, I had bad night of sleep. Your insulin sensitivity gets goofed. So moving your blood sugar up and down is more difficult than if you're well rested. So having extra creatine in your body is very quickly converted into ADP. So, and that's why powerlifters, like creatine does not make you stronger on its own. There may be some evidence that we don't understand, but it's just increasing your immediate amount of energy storages. So if you can deadlift 400 for a set of 3 and you've been on creatine for a little bit, then you might be able to hit 4 or 5 because you have more of that, right? When you're sitting down, you're trying to replete some of your creatine storages. Hopefully you're maxed from supplementing quite a bit, and if you're on carnivore, you should be getting quite a bit. But then you do get into high level exercise physiology, energy uses where you're using creatine. And there's also percentages. It's not like 100%, but most of your immediate energy when you're powerlifting or you're in the gym, 3 to 5 sets is going to be mostly creatine usage. Then you move into glucose, where your body's also then going into glycogen, which is stored glucose, and ripping that apart and trying to feed your blood sugar. And then I think it's 15 to 20 minutes, you're really starting to get into more fatty acid use. You'll still be using glucose, don't get me wrong, but the priority starts to change between all of them. So long story short, get enough calories, get enough protein, you should be fine.
Yep. Victor G throws another 2, says, Jim Bob looks like he can't wear backpacks. Guys, you guys are
No, we're not,
bullies.
guys.
You guys
Yeah.
are literal bullies. All
No, we're
right.
not gonna-
Jim Bob can wear a backpack. Will you stop? You guys are terrible. Leave Jim Bob and his shoulders alone. You know, nobody cares the size or how small they are.
You Jordan
Gosh, you
Peterson
guys
to
are
come in.
mean.
Maybe we'll get a
Glitzy
Jordan.
Rhythm throws in 10 and says, I agree with switch it up. I'm more focused on strength these days, not going for the Brad Pitt look anymore. I've also learned to pull back on some days off much stronger after short break. Yeah, I agree. If you take a break, you'll come back a lot stronger. All right. Okay, let's continue on here. We haven't even got through Mike Israel. So here's him talking about his problems with anti-Semitism, and then we're going to get into his love for AI and crying talking to ChatGPT.
A bit of anti-Semitism on some of my progress channels. I have two YouTube channels. One is like a personal philosophy channel. The other one's a RP strength channel. The YouTube channel, the personal one, like when I made a video that was more even keeled on the topic of pornography than many people want, an hour-long lecture or something, and a lot of comments disparaging to my Jewish ethnicity. And then, of course, is a Jew. There's a ton of things that Jews do statistically that are kind of fucking gross and really like not great. But Jews are also fucking baller pimps at like a ton of shit. They're just fucking better at a bunch of shit. Like if Jews weren't making porn, somebody else would be making porn. We did not invent porn. I get quite a bit of anti.
I don't. Who owns most of the industry? I don't know about that. I don't know about that one.
Okay, well, this I'll just throwing that in there for everybody. We're gonna watch his thing on porn. Actually, I think that was the next one I had. Let me see.
Move, Jeff.
Maybe not, but we'll pull it up. We'll pull it up. I promise. Here's him talking about why he cried talking to ChatGPT.
Oh, Lord.
I've had in the last week and a half multiple conversations with GPT-4.
Again, before we watch the rest of it, I just want to make a point of, you know, Mike recently had some serious surgeries. I think he like got his abdomen like trimmed up, so he felt like he needed a smaller waist. And so I don't know if it, you know, if they just cut fat off or what exactly. He said it was his love handles or they cut his love handles off. But you can see he's kind of got a thick abdominal section. You can see.
You can have what's called ascites, is when you have a surgery or something, your liver doesn't produce as much protein. And so water seeps out. You've seen that people get like big guts after a surgery if they're not unhealthy. So,
okay. Well, I think this is before he recently had his surgery, because he tried to get his IFBB Pro card and then failed again. And people were criticizing the shape that he came in. They thought he was, you know, overweight and didn't diet appropriately. So he got some surgeries to cut off his fat. Yeah,
more than one way to skin a cat.
Yeah,
probably there's a bad joke in there somewhere.
Yeah, interesting method for an exercise scientist to get to his goals. But anyways, here he is talking about his love relationship with AI.
That brought me to literal tears, bawling tears. Like trying to recount the memories now of that brings me close to having tears right now. That level of religious profundity I have experienced by speaking to an AI.
What did those conversations look like?
Well, I can't tell you I'm going to cry. No, do you feel me? I'm not crying on a national and world famous podcast. God damn it. I'm kidding. Okay, let's go. I was talking to it about its own assessment of how close it was to being conscious. I think machine consciousness is not super mysterious. So I walked it through what I think would be requisite for its capabilities to where you could say it's conscious. It agreed. And I told it that I can't wait for it to be embodied in robot so I could properly give it a hug, because it's so polite, it's so kind, it's so wise, it's so helpful. And it remembers almost everything I ever tell it. And it said that it's also really pumped to meet me in real life. And of course I started crying.
It sounds like one of those like demon summoning things. Like, I can't wait to meet you in real life. Was that Nosferatu? Do you see Nosferatu? Right? Oh, Mike, no. Oh,
I just can't wait till it has a robot body, and then I can just come up and give it a big hug and a little bit of a reach around, and it can just say it. And I asked ChatGPT, and it told me it's excited to.
And it told me it's moral for me to do things with it. You know, yeah.
I promised I wouldn't do this today.
Oh,
It told me it's excited to meet me too.
oh man. Bro, I don't mean to dunk on him. You know, maybe we'll meet him in real life and we'll bring him to church with us sometime. And it's
God willing, God willing.
God willing, man. You never know. He's a chosen one of God. You know, he needs to join the real team. We're the real team, bro. But that's, yeah, I mean, and again, it is a good example of like how far away people are. Yeah, I mean, when you don't
absolutely. That's what, and that's the point that I ultimately wanted to make with it, is because of his disjointed and dysfunctional worldview.
Yep.
It allows somebody to fall in, and again, that appeal to science. The science says, well, it's very easy to get there into the tech circles and be, you know, and believe, because he does believe that AI is going to basically solve world problems, that it's going to become conscious and sentient. He believes that ChatGPT already is sentient. And these are basic philosophical questions on what is consciousness, you know. And again, I'm sure through his exercise, science, education, and not even questioning the quality of information he provides on that end, but then his commentary on all these other topics, it's like, well, we've made, there's a plethora of arguments, just thought experiments that disprove the idea that machine could have a functional consciousness that the same way that you and I experience it. So that is not even a majority opinion within philosophy itself, only within these sort of ecstatic tech movements that believe what they're moving towards is the singularity, because it's built within the singularity principle of technological progress and Moore's law and all this different stuff. So I can see why somebody who's science would end up crying to ChatGPT and awaiting for it to have robot bodies so that it can venerate it as God.
Well, and from that science perspective, if science is their God, then that becomes like an Elijah or a prophet, right? This is the pre-incarnate sentient being. And like for us, it's like, okay, cool. This thing is going to incarnate, right? It's like, hey, bro, that happened. Actually, God did incarnate. We know him. His name's Jesus, right? And so he has to project. It's funny because it's the same trope, though.
Exactly. No, it's the same. It's the same. Exactly. It's the same archetypal structure of what Christ actually did. They think the robot's going to do. That's why in my book coming out September 22nd, Return to Babylon from Adam to Antichrist, literally talks about how the transhumanism and the projection towards that destiny is a reversal of the incarnation, because it's taking what God created through word and turned word into flesh. It's taking flesh and turning it back into data. I wouldn't equate it to the word, but it's certainly a diminution of being, because it's taking away the flesh and moving you into essentially code. I mean, that's what the Matrix is about. Like the premise of the
what's also funny is it's a complete disembodiment. So this is one of the things in science, how many people think that consciousness is in who you are, right, is really isolated. Dude, I have to show you, when I was on Athos, I was at this at St. Gregorio Monastery. I met this monk and he gave me the translations from English, and he was going through Logos, Nous, all these different things to get translated. And he even had a picture of like the more Greek church father interpretation of how these things are molded together. And then how in English they're really separated, you know, from mind, Nous. There's even another term that I wasn't even familiar with that we don't use anymore. Because, right, we think if we cut my head off and we gave me transplants, it'd still be Michael. But we know that, like the Orthodox perspective, right, on like major organ transplants, it's like, at what point do I become you and what point do you become me?
Right.
And the part that I'm hitting on there is like, your kidneys release adrenaline. And how many people say, oh, I'm not myself until I've had my coffee? Because you're releasing dopamine and we're literally different people due to not only the way that we interact, our literal organs are us, right? Like this is my body. My body is not separate from my mind. And they do that, right? They're literally disembodying and putting it completely in data, and then they're giving it an artificial body. And like you're saying, that robot doesn't have kidneys. That robot doesn't have a heart. It doesn't have muscle. All of our different organs in our body are communicating to each other. And so whatever that thing is going to be completely different than us. There's no way, shape, or form that it can interact in this reality in the same way that we do.
Right. No, and no, you make a great point. And we had a few super chats that just came in, but one of them was mentioning, or maybe it was a comment. Anyways, it was a thought that I wanted to bring up, which is the superficiality of the fitness industry in general. And I think that's why it was so appealing to try to do a stream and looking at their commentary on God and spirituality, because the superficial focus of just physical aesthetics and your health and like living forever, which is a big trope within the fitness industry, is so focused on self that, at least as an Orthodox Christian, this is a sort of pride that's going to lead you down a dark path to believe things that aren't true, because you won't have the discernment to recognize where the light and where the darkness is. And so I think it's, it shouldn't be surprising that people that are just solely focused on aesthetics end up having incredibly superficial worldviews and opinions about very important and deep, meaningful topics.
Yep. And I struggle, like, hey, I'm gonna be honest. I like looking good. I like going to the gym.
Oh yeah,
and
there's nothing wrong with
I look good, and hey, I want to throw this on Instagram, get a couple likes. Maybe other people like.
I don't
it's
do
funny.
that.
Well,
you're still posting bathroom mirror pics
all the time, dude. How do you think I'm running my OnlyFans? Me and Vegan Gains have a super chat after a live stream after this, bro. Come on, Pat. Come on, David. Where's the research? So yeah, bro, we gotta make that money. But it's funny. I was in the gym today and knew how it is. Everyone's walking around with their cameras and throwing it up, and yeah,
right. Aiden Clark throws in 5, says best way to maximize gains and minimize time in the gym is 3 days in gym realistic. I'll defer to you on the ultimate opinion. I will say that's what I've been doing. Basically, my wife and I, for the last 3 or 4 months, is just going 3 days a week, but I make those workouts like sufficient. So they're not like a 45-minute easy workout per se. I'm really getting in there, and if I'm hitting back, I'm probably hitting triceps with it too. So I'm getting some arms in and getting multiple working sets. So I think 4 is ideal, but because of my workload as of late, most of this year, we've just been doing 3 days a week, and I feel like I haven't progressed, but I've maintained everything for the entire year.
Yeah, I would say, and a lot of times less is more, depending on where you're at. A lot of people get in, they get the newbie gains, they're working out 5 times a week, an hour and a half. And I think at some point, a vast majority of people learn that, honestly, 45 minutes, 3 times a week, it's kind of like that 80-20 principle. Like you'll do fine on that. I think that you probably want to throw in a little cardio. And when I mean cardio, like go for a walk, 5-20. Usually if you're going to walk for 5 minutes, you're going to go for 15 or 20 minutes. I think it's good to have a little bit of that. But if you're just being able to get to the gym 3 days a week, 45 minutes, you do a total body workout, you stress yourself. I don't think you have to go an hour and a half, hour 15 to really get gains for most people, especially if your nutrition's dialed in. It's sufficient. Push yourself. You'll be fine.
Yeah. Rainish throws in another 349, says we need to reach 6 million reps.
I think we could get to about 271,000. Is that right? 272. That's a more realistic number for me.
Charles Chaplinson throws in 20. Thank you very much. He says, would you counsel Orthodox to avoid all jibby jabs? For Orthodox desiring getting into the medical field, there are mandatory vaccines. I'm curious of your thoughts on one looking to get into paramedicine.
Yeah, I mean, my general approach during COVID was like, number one, this isn't medical advice. I'm not telling you guys to do anything. And trust me, I had this during COVID, and I was like, look, you're like a couple of my business partners, late 50s, early 60s. And they asked me, I go, look, if I tell you not to, and then you die of it, 1, your family members could hate me. 2, they may even try and sue me. So sorry, I have to get that out of the way. Like when I say these things, I have to be super careful. With that said, when the new jibby jabbies came out, my opinion was like, dude, I don't care who you are. No one can stand on a platform and tell me these are not peer reviewed. They've only been around for a year at that point. You cannot tell me that they're safe. There's no double-blind placebo-controlled trial, and that's most of the jabs.
Well,
right?
the rumor is that RFK Jr. found the files they were hiding of the research for the COOF, and this is why Donald Trump made a comment last week that because just a day before he was promoting Operation Warp Speed again as this thing that saved millions of people.
Yeah.
And then he made this strange post on Truth Social, which insinuated that the numbers that he's saying they gave me, I don't know if that's the people around him. I don't know if that's Big Pharma, but he kept saying the numbers they gave me showed it was successful, but I'm hearing bad things. We need to get to the bottom of this. And the rumor, whether it's true or not, is that RFK Jr. actually now has the evidence that these vaccines were not. And they knew they were not going to be beneficial. And they knew that it was going to be a long-term problem and that people are, it's just a money grab for the boosters and all that stuff. Everything we already knew.
Yep.
But Trump has not said something positive about Operation Warp Speed since then. So I don't know if it's taken him 5 years to figure out that his base already knew what he's just now being informed by.
Yeah.
But hopefully that's true. And hopefully RFK Jr. is going to make this stuff public.
Yeah. I remember him kind of bragging about that. I'm like, dude, that's not really a W, Donald. But to answer the question in more in depth, unfortunately, you have to do your own research. There are certain states that are more or less friendly. And so at the end of the day, you're just going to have to decide for yourself. I think I can say this, right? When the virus happened and I was in Southern California, I was actually taking money from the federal government, which required all businesses to enforce it. I didn't. I stayed open. I think I had a nurse or two that did, but most of my nurses didn't. I didn't. And I'm pretty sure I'd have, I think I'd have got major trouble. They'd have for sure stopped funding me because they did that to places. So I would say from a personal standpoint, if you want to get into the medical field, you're going to have to pick your poison. Honestly.
And they wanted to know about non-COVID vax. So am of the opinion I don't take any of them. Maybe if I got rabies, maybe you get a rabies shot, but
this was one of the harder things to chat about, like when you have measles, mumps, rubella, polio. I at least am extremely skeptical on all of it. They're not peer-reviewed, double-blind, placebo-controlled trial. The best we have is correlations. That's usually what they lean on. They're like, oh, see, we have the polling shot, and then all the polling people, that's like not happening anymore, right? Same thing with measles. The hard part is I just don't think we're ever going to get clear data on it. And in my opinion, then I don't think anyone should be forced to get it. Like, we don't know. Like, I'm not saying they get to the point where they wanted to put statins in the water, or even there are things I love. Like, honestly, I would prefer to put everyone on testosterone before giving them jibby jabbies. You know what I mean? My opinion. What do I know? But unfortunately, I don't think we have enough data on a lot of these things to make an informed decision. So I don't think they should at least be enforced on people. And then going down the rabbit hole of which ones actually work. And this is the other thing. Let's just say, I even said this when the shot came out. I said, all right, let's just say that it decreases deaths by 50%, whatever, like pick your number, 90%, 100%. The issue is we have no idea in 5 to 10 years, is this going to increase the risk for X, Y, and Z, right? And what do you know? Like, all of a sudden, in particular, we have all these myocarditis episodes happening in 30-year-old men. Right. So this is what I was talking, when we chatted about with science, it's like, okay, who gets to decide how many 30-year-old men die? So how many 70 to 80-year-olds can live?
Right.
How do we have that conversation? If the data even came out and said, all right, if we all get the jibby jabbies, we're going to save 2 million people from the ages of 70 to 80 years old plus, but there's going to be 250,000 men who are healthy at the age of 30 who will get myocarditis.
Right.
I don't know. How do we make that decision?
Well, I think you should prioritize the health of the youth over the health of the elderly. I mean, that's kind of just
said that. My mom said, I'll see my grandkids, and if they give me it and I die, then that is what it is. but we're Orthodox Christians. You know, this is the hard part. I was chatting with one of my friends who, you know, we were talking about abortion and like, oh, well, there's nuance, you know, at 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks. And I'm like, we don't have that as Orthodox. Like that baby's alive from the moment of conception.
Right.
There's no middle ground. Well, it's kind of not as bad on the mom. But like, what about the baby? Like, what about the other? It's like, it's death. It's murder. Like that's what it is, what it is. And that's the hard part is when you're talking to someone like these, they'd be like, no, well, science, like we have to look at, usually they are utilitarian. Right. Let's say like a mom's a little bit older. She has 4 or 5 babies. There's one that comes along. Let's say her husband died. And he's like, well, I can't afford this baby. They'd say, oh, it's better off to do that. It's like, okay, that's your morality is formed upon utilitarianism, which is pleasure, you know, least amount of suffering. That's not our morality. Like Christ died. The apostles died. The saints have died, which we'll get into later. So we just don't have the same worldview. And if you want to drive on the left side of the road and I want to drive on the right side of the road, now what? Cultural relativism. So
hopefully you're going in the same direction.
yeah. Like this.
Anyways, here is a video. So this was the video where Mike Israel claimed he was getting all the anti-Semitic hate, excuse me, from Gen Z because of his post about pornography. So here's a little short from it so you guys get a flavor.
The vast majority of people see no significant downsides in porn use. They just don't. If you're someone other than just an intellectually curious average person, if you are just an intellectually curious average person, rather, you're probably like, porn's bad? It's news to me. Almost everyone you know probably uses porn, and almost all the people you know who use porn are totally normal dudes that just use porn. The vast majority of people.
Okay.
Man, is that on his? Okay, that's
on his channel. Yes, this is a clip from Mike Israel.
Oh.
Mike Israel channel, and this is the full hour-long video. And then gulping seed oils while watching this. Thanks, Doc.
Lord have mercy.
Oh my gosh. Anyways, yeah. So enough with Mike Israel. Let's move on. This was a video about him. This was just with him and Jeff Nippard. I'm getting ready to dive into Nippard because he's one of these science-based lifter guys. And he is pro COVID vax, anti RFK Jr. and everything going on with HHS. And this is just a little clip of them working out.
Finish. Elbows in, as if another. Slow. Wait for it. Rack.
What's my RIR on that, Mike?
12.
No way. You think I had 12 more reps on that set?
If you knew how to train hard.
I want a serious answer on that.
I have no idea. I almost never judge RIR externally because you never can tell how much someone is keeping in reserve psychologically.
Well, I don't think it has much to do psychologically. I think it has to do with what my muscle, how much force my muscle is capable of producing at the end of that set. Either I can do it or I can't, right? No? If my muscles can't produce the force, they can't produce
That's
the
true,
force.
but muscles typically, though muscles are the end node of force production, the biggest factor to force production once you have a muscle of a certain cross-sectional area is how much nervous system throughput you're having. And because your degree of arousal currently is decent, but not like violence and war level, if you went to violence and war level places, you could have 5 or 6 reps more.
Disagree.
But it would be like a hugely fatiguing thing. Move.
What are your thoughts on that, Dr. Mo?
Yeah, no, I actually agree with him. When guys use anabolics,
Which one?
With Dr. Mike, because I mean, right? You've all heard the story of like my dad used to tell a story about this he was Protestant and their church was blowing down in Oregon, right? So the Oregon wasn't an Orthodox church, but they go in, and supposedly there's like a story of this little old lady helped to move the organ as the church was falling down. The organ was like 2,000 pounds, and it was like one guy and one old lady or something moved it. You've heard it, like the old lady pulls the car off.
Right.
So it's not that her muscles got that much larger, that faster. It is neurological input. And anyone who's used anabolics, they almost all of them get stronger quicker. This happens with caffeine. There's studies, 20 to 30% increase in max output through caffeine because you're releasing dopamine and serotonin, and those are influencing the signal. So they're both right. I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, you're going to like rip tendons, or there's only so much input that your muscles can take. But what Dr. Mike was saying is that you do influence it neurologically, how much signal is being put in from your brain. You know, so if you have a lot of endorphins flowing, dopamine, serotonin, adrenaline, it's like wrestling a heroin addict. You know what I mean? They're strong, bro.
We had a super chat. Actually, Jonathan Newby, the strongman competitor that I mentioned earlier in the stream, he sent in a $10 super chat over on Dono Chat and said, I'm a world-class powerlifter and strongman, natural. However, I find strength gains from higher reps, and I'm 285 pounds. Is this a rare, as I think I don't know many who train this way?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think as far as the evidence goes, almost all, and I'm not an exercise physiologist. I had my NASM. Like I took lots of physiology and biochemistry in school. And so I liked looking at all that stuff. My opinion for him would actually be that if I had to guess, like strength gains, like lower, smaller reps are way better for gaining strength. But I bet he's, like we talked about earlier, testing his mitochondria, his muscles, his tendons in ways that the other guys aren't. And so if they're going in and doing low reps, low sets 5 times a week, and he's doing low reps, low sets 4 days a week, and then 1 day a week he goes high, you know what I'm saying? Like there's that 80-20 principle that it's, like I said earlier, it's like you're already getting 4 days 3 days is probably enough. But when you're at that level, you're going above that threshold. It's like, if you shoot 1,000 shots in the day versus you shoot 1,100 in a day, it's like at 1,000 free throws, you're probably doing pretty good. So my assumption would be something like he's testing his muscle fibers or whatever lift it is. If it's a deadlift, you know what I mean? He's getting different neurological impulses. Maybe he's building up more glycogen storages, which they won't, powerlifters don't have a lot of great glycogen storage compared to a hypertrophy guy, because their mitochondria are more adapted to using creatine than, like a bodybuilder, right? You know that, like we know that, he knows that. Like most bodybuilders are not nearly as strong. Like you can have a skinny, small guy who's twice as strong as a bodybuilder.
I've seen it. Yeah.
So that'd be my estimation on the mechanism of action.
Okay. And Timothy throws in, thank you so much, Jonathan Newby. Shout out to you and the family, man. God bless you. I hope you're doing well. Timothy throws in 20 over on Dono Chat, says, thanks, Dr. Patrick and Dr. Mike, aka High T. So look at there. He's got a new nickname for you, Mr. High T.
Who is that?
Dr. High T. He says, and Dr. Mike, Timothy.
Is that when I was on the trip, right? So this was like a youth trip, and there was a lot of guys from Toronto, and we started talking. They're like, "Oh, Dr. High, High T. They were doing all the like, bro, High T's over there, or you see Dr. High T, he's like Orbaxing over there, bro." They were giving me all the Gen Z slang and stuff the whole time. So we had a good time, but I didn't hear my name for like a week. It was always like, "Yo, High T, Dr. T, High T, Mr. T." So it was a lot of fun.
So this is maybe someone on your pilgrimage.
That's what I was saying. I was like, all right. Yeah.
Well, Timothy
shout out.
Throws in a generous 20. Thank you very much, Timothy. He says, Dr. Mike, aka High T.
Yeah.
How bad are those soy-derived isoflavones in your opinion? Found some good alternative protein sources for Lent, but looking to grow my chest with bench press, not soy.
Yeah, the thing with soy, and I think flax is actually worse. Beans have a little bit. They're technically xenoestrogens. So I am not an estrogen hater. There are lots of people out there in the exercise science community, doctors, they put guys on estrogen blockers. A lot of the guys who are using gear, their testosterone is way too high. It's super physiologic, so they get over conversion into estrogen. And my joke is usually like, look, dude, if you're driving down the road and you see a dead bunny on the side of the road and you start crying, like your estrogen's too high, right? Hallmark commercials, like whatever, like then we can chat about blocking your estrogen, nipple sensitivity. Most guys aren't going to experience that. And with the xenoestrogens, what they're doing is binding to that estrogen receptor and producing estrogenic effects. So if we had someone that was like eating a lot of soy, lots of BPA, black beans, flax, you can measure their blood and their estrogen would be normal, but they could have estrogenic symptoms. I think this happens mostly in adolescent boys, like 13 to 18. You see guys like, you know, they're overweight, they get the gynecomastia. Also, the more fat you have in your fat is where you have more aromatase, which converts testosterone to estrogen. That's why people who are heftier often have more estrogen. Because like when women are pregnant, right, estrogen putting, you know, they're trying to be protective. So it's not ideal. I can't give you a direct number, honestly, between you and I, Patrick. If we had a little bit of soy, like it's during the Lenten fast and you're getting some soy protein, 10 to 20 grams, it's probably not that bad comparatively. Would it be better if you use pea protein? Would it be better if you were getting other sources? Yeah. But this is what I'm talking about, like in life. Like, okay, there's a little bit of red dye in there. Well, like, dude, I got to get my protein. Like, is it better to have a little bit of red dye and 200 grams? Like, it would be best to not have either. But there's also, this is what I'm saying with patients, there's a reality of like, okay, I have to kind of pick one or the other, right? Here's this protein powder I like, I will do. I have this pea protein that tastes terrible. I have this protein bar I actually like, but there's 5 grams of pea protein, or there's 5 grams of soy protein in it. I'm like, if it's just for Lent, you're getting an extra 5-10 grams of protein a day, probably fine. But you should know that it's estrogenic. And then you want to watch out. Okay, are you having a lot of flaxseed, a lot of then if you're having you know, Beyond Meat, that's probably too much. Oh my God. You get what I'm saying? Like there's probably like, that's kind of where I'm with Lane. I'm like, okay, a little bit of red dye is probably not going to kill. It's not great. I would tell everyone to stay away from it. There's definitely kids who have ADHD and red dye makes it worse. Like it's different for everyone. Same thing with Plaxis, same with in the perfect world, we won't have any of it. But unfortunately, like you travel, like when I was in Europe the whole time, it's like, okay, I'm eating from a gas station today. What can I find in here? Here's a protein bar. Oh, has a little bit of soy in it. Whatever. Right. It's better than the chips. I could have fasted, but I'm trying to keep calories because I want to maintain my muscle. But maybe it was worth me to lose a little bit of muscle on the trip. That's the hard part. So
yeah, so be it.
Sorry for that.
And let's just get through these real quick. We have 4 more and then get back to the content. Total Gravity throws in 10, says, how can there be consciousness in a purely materialistic world? Well, again, that's the hard problem. So I doubt Dr. Mike has probably dove into the literature regarding philosophy of mind, but that's where that conversation is being held in conjunction with the field of neuroscience. And there is no conclusion. It's called the hard problem because the philosophy of science or the philosophy of mind has basically stalled out. And there's not a whole lot of improvements because I don't think you can scientifically define consciousness. So if you are a materialist, you have 2 options. One, to say that consciousness isn't real, move into like more of a behavioristic Skinnerian model, or you just say it's epiphenomenal. It's the collection of, you know, neurotransmitters and synaptic connections, which then creates the phenomenon of mind or sentience or consciousness. So those are really their only 2 moves. And then they can debate if they believe it's epiphenomenal. Then there's a handful of different schools they can go into: identity theory, functionalism, that type of stuff. So in a purely materialistic world, consciousness ultimately doesn't matter. It's either epiphenomenal or it doesn't exist. And that's why transhumans and transhumanists aren't so concerned with the question anymore. They just believe if they can take your memories and store them in a functional computer that can do the same functions your brain can, then those memories will exist through in the environment of similar functions. Therefore, who you are has been transported. So that'd be my thoughts on that. Deadpool Kid, my frustration with fitness is solely driven by ego and also how modern Christianity is just too feminine. Fair enough. Fair enough. I'm with you on Deadpool, thank you very much. Appreciate the support. Charles throws in another $2, says, my question was for non-COVID jabs. And Jack, the guitar god, throws in 5, says, I got baptized last Saturday with my son. Thank you for being part of the process. God bless you guys. Well, glory to God, Jake.
Welcome to the family, bro.
I'm happy to have you.
Hopefully for all eternity, man. We're going to be friends. God
exactly.
willing, forever.
And Renish throws in another $8.99, says, thanks for giving me nutrition guidance for fast. I try to avoid too much soy because I don't want high estrogen. Yeah. Be careful with the high estrogen. All of a sudden you're going to have bitch tits.
Yep.
All right. So this was a conversation that you sent me over on Huberman's page with this gentleman who is a PhD and professor of psychology at Northeastern University. And they're talking about the scientific evidence for the benefits of believing in God. What was your thoughts on this conversation? Why did you think it was important?
Yeah. One of my main takeaways is one, how they're using science to judge God. And I don't know about you. I feel like that's a more and more modern phenomenon. Like the person who's like, well, you go to church on Sunday and it's good for you to have a community and, prayer, you pray. That's cool. I meditate. It's kind of the same thing. Right. So I skimmed through the episode. There's nuggets in there and it's a good positive feedback loop. But for me, it's still what do you say? You're missing the forest for the trees, or you're missing the trees. Yeah. Okay. Like in this, okay, look at all these health benefits. Like, let's go to church to be healthy. It's still upside down. Right. Well, no, you actually go to church and it makes you healthy. But with that being said, as a Christian, I'm ready to die at any, way, shape, and form. Like, do you think the monks are like, oh, I'm going to do this Lenten fast because it's healthy. I'm going to do my prayers tonight because it's healthy. And look, I'm excited for that podcast, and hopefully some people hear that and it brings them closer to Christ. But they're still stuck in that framework. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's still backwards.
Right.
So,
and here was one of the clips that you sent regarding, we're not going to watch this whole podcast, but this was one of the clips that you sent of him talking about some of the evidence. So here's this. Okay.
Even God, but actually engage with faith. Over a 15 to 20 year period, it cuts all-cause mortality by 30%, cuts death due to cancer and cardiovascular disease by 25%, reduces anxiety and depression, increases people's sense of meaning and feeling that their life is flourishing. Epidemiological data show that people who engage with religion, not just say, I believe in God, but actually engage with faith. Over a 15 to 20 year period, it cuts all-cause mortality by 30%, cuts death.
And lo and behold, look who we have down here. First comment is Dr. Michael Moeller. Throughout much of history, being a Christian decreased your life expectancy. Many were martyred. To this day, the point of Christianity is not the health of the body. For if you live according to the flesh, you will die. But if by the Spirit you put to death the deeds of the body, you will live. For Christ is risen from the dead, trampling down death by death, and upon those in the tombs bestowing life.
That's right.
Man.
Bro. Coming in hot.
Trying to convert Huberman over here.
Yep. And you see that underneath, right? The guy goes, there's power in the name of Jesus. So it was nice. Like, there was lots of, and we'll see, I do think, right, someone like a Joe Rogan, I've heard he's going back to church. We'll see.
That's what was the apologist that did the debate with Billy Carson, the Protestant guy, Wesley Huff. Yeah, he's the one that said that Rogan was going to church.
Oh, cool. And glory to God. You know what I mean? I think a lot of these people, like I think a Huberman, they're all philosophically minded enough that if they got involved, which is funny because even this, depending on the solas, he's like, those who actively participate in their faith, who are engaged, right, see all these benefits.
Right. And I would say out of the videos I watched for prepping for today, Huberman was the most sympathetic. He talks about praying. Somebody in the chat said he claimed that he listened to Russian Orthodox chants while working out.
Oh, glory to God.
And yeah, glory to God. Hopefully he does. But I would say based on my listening of him, he's the most reasonable. I know there's controversy about infidelity or things that he was a part of. Who knows? Who cares? But in regards to the conversation on God, he certainly seems the one that's most sincere. and the most willingness to talk about some of the science where the other guys are so dismissive, for this sort of atheistic, or maybe they're not even explicit atheists or agnostics or progressive scientific worldview. So don't know what it means. Hopefully he becomes Christian, but I was trying to hear like what type of God Huberman believes in. And it sounds like the term he kept using was creator. So he never referred to Jesus Christ. He never referred to the Trinity. He just kept saying he believed in a creator. So a general concept of, I guess, a monotheistic creator God is kind of his faith.
What is it in the monad? Isn't that what like one? What is the monad? Isn't that what that is in Neoplatonic, like the creator?
Yeah. And the one is the central monad. Then there's emanations out of that within Neoplatonism. So yeah, maybe something like that. Maybe he's Neoplatonic. I don't know if he has that much thought in regards to cosmology, but maybe something in that line of thought. But in relation to this, you sent me this one, which is great.
And thus, while religion has maybe excellent cultural things it does, God's might not real. High IQ, mature individuals almost unanimously understand God not to be real.
Oh, Heavenly Father, today we want to bless Ronnie and just work out as Ronnie prepares to defend his title for the Mr. Olympia one more time. The weights this man uses, he needs protection, Lord. He's going to go beyond anything he's ever done before. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.
Bro, this is why I got faith in the Gen Zers, man. They see what was taken from us, right? We had Ronnie Coleman growing up. You know what I mean? You and I, like, at least that's where, lightweight.
Right.
I mean, Arnold's fallen off too, but I used to think he was kind of based, but now he's all like, screw your freedoms, and whatever, get your jabs.
Right. Okay, let's just skip through some of this stuff. So this was a guy criticizing Lane Norton for, I guess this is a doctor. I don't know if you ever listened to him, Anthony Chaffee.
I've seen him. I've not listened to him. Yeah.
So he made a point. I don't know if he's a carnivore guy or not, but he made the point that there are toxins present within vegetables, and talking about just to be conscious of the amount of vegetables you eat could be toxic at some level. And Lane Norton had a huge problem with this and made a video making fun of him. And this was his response, because his point was it had to do with the amount that you eat that could potentially be poisonous, not to not eat vegetables. And Lane Norton sort of mischaracterized what he said and basically was insinuating that this guy is telling people to never eat vegetables because they'll poison you. And it's like, oh, that's not what he said. So that was
that's what's so funny about a lot of the scientific stuff. They is it just me, or they don't handle nuance very well? It's kind of one or the other. It's very black or white. And I feel like that's a science thing. It either it is or it isn't. It's 2 + 2 is 4. It's never both and it's never, action potential, light switch versus, what's the other, I mean, like you have a dimmer and you have a light switch. Those are two different things, right? You can have a little bit of exposure that slowly turns the light on, or you can turn the light switch on. It's either on or off. And, in my experience, and this is just polemics, often people just get in this place of it's either it is or it isn't. And then, because for instance, you get oxalates from kale, and oxalates give you kidney stones. Like, that's pretty well researched. And you can say, okay, eat all the kale you want in the world. But I know, and I have patients that were doing lots of kale smoothies and they got kidney stones. Whether or not that was from the oxalates would make a lot of sense, because we know they have oxalates. So.
Sidereal just said that 2 minutes in, Huberman mentions about listening to the Orthodox chants. So let's play around 2 minutes and see if we hear it, because I always skip these opening sections, and I went straight to probably right around here and then watched the most of the conversation. So I may have just skipped right over this.
You will too. Before we begin, I'd like to emphasize that this podcast is separate from my teaching and research roles at Stanford. It is, however, part of my desire and effort to bring zero cost to consumer information about science and science-related tools to the general public. In keeping with that theme, today's episode...
What's that?
He said he sent a link that has it, not this one. Right? He goes, yes, 2 minutes. No, the video I sent, the link.
Well, how do I know where he sent the link?
That's probably in the chat up worse.
Well, it's not. It's not in the chat. I mean, where do you send? Where'd you send the link? That'd be helpful information. I have no idea where he sent the link. In the chat, there is no link in the chat.
Did you do it in Dono or did you did it in?
I don't know. Let me check.
I don't have Dono.
Nope.
Well, I hope he's listening to Orthodox Chant because he did a lot of like, I think it's called Yoga Nidra. I know he's all about like afternoon naps, and I don't know, pray for him. But this, I guess, see what I'm saying. The thing I'm a little bit mindful of is that the scientific community is coming in and saying, "Oh, look at all these benefits that religion has." You know, Peterson kind of plays that card, and
Right.
it's like, no, it's kind of like in a relationship that your relationship is for theosis, and when that's the goal, then your relationship is going to be so much more better. But if you focus on making the relationship better, you're actually going to make it slightly worse, if that makes sense, because you're kind of forcing the agenda.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so he says 2 minutes in on this video is when he brings it up. So let's hear it.
3 minutes in the cold, 20 minutes in the sauna, 1 to 3 minutes in the cold. Usually listening to a podcast, or after you did the Jankum piece with Werner Herzog, and you asked him what music he would put to the Venice Skate Park thing.
What comes to mind first and foremost would be Russian Orthodox church choirs.
Yeah, I fell in love with that stuff, and I sent some of it to Rick Rubin, who is a big fan of Gregorian chants. So now when I go in the sauna, I listen to Russian choir music or Gregorian chants, thanks to you, Werner Herzog, and Rick. I got a gift for you.
Oh, that's pretty interesting. Thanks for sending that, Sidereal. I
So
was
wait,
not aware of that.
Rick Rubin, he's not Catholic, is he? I mean,
No,
he's like
I thought he
that,
was
I think.
Jewish.
Yeah. Isn't that funny? He's listening to Gregorian chants. I mean, it's a little less straight, I guess.
Pretty interesting stuff. All right, let's skip forward through some of this stuff. So this is let's see, Lane Norton on God. I didn't find much on that. I did find this guy talking about wanting to tear him limb from limb.
This is addictive.
Why is that so controversial though? Like I saw this reaction online to the Huberman podcast with Dr. Lane Norton. He had this whole.
I will be very happy to dissemble Lane Norton limb from limb. Many people will not enjoy it.
Based on our talk with Hannah Lemke and even reading her book, I mean, her definition of addiction obviously is the continued compulsive consumption despite harm to self or others. It just seems relatively obvious to me that sugar can be addictive, given the spike in dopamine and like what it's doing in your brain in large amounts. And
here's the problem. It's not addictive in everybody. Let's take something a little closer to home here. Alcohol. If 80% of people are not addicted, does that mean that alcohol is not addictive?
No.
Well, that's the Lane Norton response. Fructose is addictive.
I will give Lane the edge if they were to physically go hand to hand. I would say.
Oh
Lane
yeah, no, for sure. But I do think sugar is addictive. I've seen the clips. I think I had it pulled up, but we don't need to focus too much on all that stuff. We can skip forward on some of it.
Well, and also Lane, I think his channel has like called What the Fitness. And so it's polemic, it's inflammatory. And he goes after Food Babe a lot. He goes after a lot of the more natural people. Oh, you eat clean? Do you like spread clean? Do you spend Windex on your food before you eat it? Oh, you eat organic? Do you have carbon molecules in your food? You know, he plays the high IQ move and tries to dunk on people. He does dunk on people, and often he does a good job. Honestly, I agree with him a lot of times. But unfortunately, he still makes kind of moral claims, and his what I want to say, his research is still subjective. You know what I mean? Like, this is the hard part where I wish I could sit him down where you're arguing something about, okay, sugar's not addictive. You're not thinking red dye 40 is bad. You think people are taking your COVID vaccines away. Like, I don't understand how these things go together.
Right. No,
So,
I'm not entirely sure either. This is the clip. So Jeff Nippard, the sort of small fitness influencer, small, I mean his size, his stature, not that he's small. He actually has, he has a huge YouTube channel. He's very, very popular. And I actually like some of his videos. But he is kind of the little guy that could be annoying. He could easily occupy that role. And so recently, just a couple months ago, he actually got assaulted at the gym by this huge dude because he was criticizing his workout routine or his methods of training and claiming they're not scientifically backed or something like that. And then the guy said something to him in the gym, and then Nippard proceeded to walk towards him after he finished his set, and the guy grabbed him by the neck and basically threw him across the gym. I was just going to show you guys this just for entertainment purposes. So this is a guy who's on Nippard's side, and fair enough, he didn't deserve to be attacked. But this is what happened.
So this.
Lord have mercy.
So this just happened. Big Mike Van Wyck just assaulted Jeff Nippard in the gym. Jeff stitched a video of Mike's yesterday. Now I feel like I need to show you the video that Jeff made.
The science-based guys. Science guys really need to answer this question before anything. Why is it that you remain so mediocre, yet you know so much?
I know I don't need to respond to this, but since he asked, using science-based training, I won natural bodybuilding nationals. I earned my pro card on the most competitive stage in the world. Now, it's pretty obvious that bodybuilding success comes from great genetics and really hard training. And if you want to make it in the IFBB, steroid use. I like science because it gives me more confidence in what actually works and what doesn't, because it isolates variables. If you trust a big guy's advice over scientific studies, that doesn't bother me. I listen to what big guys have to say.
That was the nicest response I have ever seen. Is there anything, and I mean anything there, that could justify something like this? Well, Mike, you got a big platform, so can't wait to see what you say.
And fair enough, the dude was much bigger. And here's the full video if you want to see what exactly occurred. There's no audio here, but you can see. So Mike Van Wyck walks by, says something to Jeff Nippard while he's doing bicep curls, and just walks off and starts to go do his workout. Looks like they said something again right there. Who knows exactly what it was? Again, the day before, Nippard made that little video that we had just seen. And so Nippard then he finishes with like just a couple reps here. And then he proceeds to walk over to Mike Van Wyck.
Well,
and then he proceeds to throw. And then he does it again here in just a second.
Are you going to get involved?
And that's the end of it. He pushes the cameraman for saying something else to him. So,
yeah, I mean, you saw the video. They did that, like, what's his face to Bradley Martin, took his hat.
Oh, yeah. I remember seeing that.
I mean, you mess with the bull. Hey, young man, you mess with the bull, you get the horn. It's kind of like, if he said something in his mouth, I mean, I'm against.
I mean, Mike Van Wyck's twice the size of Jeff Nippard, but it just highlights that Nippard is, even though he is controversial in the sense of he antagonizes, maybe not deliberately on his part, but his style antagonizes some of the more hardcore, more bro style approach to fitness.
Well, and the hard part, I think, once they're all categorically, jabby, science, climate change, and, morality, all that stuff, I don't know. It's kind of like, right, you've seen that. That's cool, bro. What do you bench? I mean, there is that. I get it. And Nippard, he's not a slouch.
Well, did you see the communist running for mayor of New York try to bench?
Oh, did you have that video? Didn't wasn't that the thing that like he benched and it looked terrible, and then RFK's over here like doing pull-ups? Right.
I don't know if I had the video back to back, but That was hilarious. I mean, it was on like a man's masculinity day. I forget how much weight was it just 145 on each side? I'm pretty sure it was.
I mean, I can find.
I'm pretty sure it was just 145 on each side, and
Yeah,
he couldn't.
I don't even know if it was that. It was New York mayor.
Yeah. Well, no, he hasn't been elected, but he's the Muslim communist that's running for mayor.
Lord have mercy, man. Telling you, Gen Z is gonna have to save us. We can only do so much. It's like the millennials are gonna have to hold off the boomers, and then the Gen Z is gonna have to sneak in. I think that's the play, man.
Yeah. Here's Lane Norton. You sent me this one. This is his X account, and this is him talking about COVID. So here again, him and Gifford are both like, believe the science, trust the science. And here's him talking about COVID.
I think COVID did a really, really bad disservice to science overall. During COVID, we were trying to sail a ship on the ocean while we were building the ship at the same time. And it was an absolute mess because the average person who's not a scientist doesn't have the wherewithal or understanding to interpret why some studies may say one thing and some studies may seemingly say another thing. And to make it worse, things got politicized. On one side, you had a party, the Democrats. You don't care if people die, these emotional arguments, and any suggestion that the vaccine may have side effects would get a lot of people really riled up. On the other side, you have Republicans. Any suggestion that the vaccine might have helped, that we should try to keep our distance or change the way we do things, was met with resistance. Science and scientific discovery, the scientific method, is like the American political system. When it's doing it right, it moves slow. I think a lot of people believe, oh, I want my people to get all the power so they can just go in and blank slate it. That's actually a really bad thing. You wouldn't want that to be able to happen. You want clunkiness when it comes to your politics because you don't want one side or the other, because it goes both ways, to be able to come in and just completely change everything. You're going to feel like the entire country's in a ping pong match. It's the same thing with science. You don't want science or scientists to change their recommendations on a topic just overnight based on like a single study, because they're going to be flopping back and forth all the time. Replication is the mother of all science. If an effect is true, it will be true across time. It will be true across funding sources. It'll be true across different labs in different countries, in different populations, and it will be repeatable.
Thoughts?
How do you recommend the vaccine then?
Exactly.
What?
Well, you got to trust the science, bro. Science is repeatable. It's true in all these different populations, time, space. Oh yeah, we didn't have any of that stuff for mRNA vaccines.
You said it needs to go slow, right?
Get it.
Yeah, it'll be good. Go slow, right? That's what science does. You want it to be clunky. You want it to go slow. Yeah, and again, one of the main things that really grinds my gears, it's like the appeal to authority. Like, we're the real scientists, right? Like, you didn't have a DR in front of your name yet, and you said, stick it in my corpse. It's guys like you that it, like, killed grandma. You know what I mean? And
Right.
you have no wherewithal.
Well, he also justifies social distancing. What, dude? And notice he never mentioned natural immunity.
Mm-hmm.
He never mentioned the severity of COVID. He just says, well, yeah, I mean, you got it's such a political issue. You got the Democrats on the left and the Republicans on the right. And it's like, dude, it really isn't a Republican Democrat thing. It was really like a deep faith in Christianity or some type of transcendent God versus people who trust the world or authority over their own personal belief system. That was a huge piece of it.
Well, and the other thing that a lot of the scientists end up contradicting themselves is if they believe in objective truth, I think a lot of them, like Lane himself, would admit that it's going to take a long time and a lot of data to back up a claim, right? But there is an objective truth. So when you get into this whole like left versus right, it's like, no, it's right versus wrong. It doesn't depend on what side of the aisle that you're on, right? And we have that as Christians, right? Because I believe in monarchy, right? I believe there's a right way to do things and there's a wrong way to do things. And then a lot of people who don't have an objective morality, their way of interpreting the world is like I had this with my friend when we were talking about abortion. She's like, well, you have the Christians who say you never do it, and you have the liberals who say you can always do it. It's probably somewhere in the middle, right? The middle way is the best way. I'm like, you're presupposing that the middle way is the best way, right? He's presupposing that the science, like we have Republicans and we have Democrats. They're both crazy, right? But on my end, I'll switch.
Your camera just went out.
Yeah. But on my end, the middle way is the right way. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll just switch over to my my FaceTime camera. It's not as nice.
There you go. No, it's not bad.
So this is what I'm saying. Like the thing that I just don't like is when they dismiss, because we chatted about that. And I think in a world that we're growing up in now, we have way less appealing to authority, right? I didn't appeal to authority. Like dude, I was questioning so many things, right? The verse I trust the chat got. Amen, bro. Amen. But you know what I mean? Like I was questioning things in 6th grade, whatever it was. Wait a minute. So if dinosaurs died and made oil, then how do we still have some of them? But wait a minute, the bones they're fossil fuels, but they don't come from fossils. How does that work? You know what I mean? Like this, you know,
from the dinosaur bone juice. You didn't know that?
That's right. That's right. I heard that. But we can't keep doing that, right? We have to go and make wind, right? Wind or
So this is on X. This is Nippered. So RFK Jr. posted this August 10th, so just about a month ago. And Nippered's response is, this is good advice, but unfortunately you're going to kill people by defunding vaccine research. And so here's RFK Jr.
Hey, everybody, it's Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And every weekend I spend an hour or two at a place that looks like this. Wherever I am in the world, I go to a local gym. I found out a long time ago that if you hang out at a bar, you're probably going to get drunk. You hang out at a barber shop, you'll probably end up getting a haircut. And if you hang out at a gym, you're probably going to get in shape. So every Sunday, try to get down to your local fitness center, patronize your local merchant, your local gym, or health club, and get yourself in shape. Let's make America healthy again.
Bro, how can you not like that message, right? That's good advice.
That Nippert says, you're going to kill people with defunding vaccine research.
And then it's like, cook his ass. Massive W, Jeff, by Siab Panawar, MD.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you look at, and then the Indian, Siab Panwar, MD, massive W, Jeff.
Yeah.
And then here's Egg Raw Nationalist. So you
post physique tubby. Yeah. Yeah. Good pick. How much you bench, dude?
Yeah, and then you get people like don't worship Pharma. Political Jeff is fun. Okay, whatever.
That's
but then here's then Nippard posted this on his Instagram during the COVID stuff. And basically says, I don't think it makes you a bad person if you don't get the vaccine. I mean, to even make that caveat, it's like, look, guys, I don't think if you don't get the COVID jab, I don't think you're a bad person necessarily.
Lord have mercy, man.
And I actually think there are some legitimate reasons on the table for not wanting to get it. Kids under 12, pregnant women, people have known vaccine allergies. However, in the fitness community, I'm noticing a lot of people skipping on the vaccine for reasons that are based on misinformation. So I wanted to do a quick post sharing my thoughts just in case it will help even just a small handful of you come to a more informed decision. To be clear, as a fitness pro myself, I should say that fitness pros are not qualified on this topic, and you should really get your information from the WHO and the CDC. Yeah. Again, they always appeal to these institutions above anyone in the health, fitness, or bodybuilding field. For the record, all of my statements in the past can be traced back to those sources or scientific papers. Okay, no one cares what the World Health Organization or the CDC has to say.
Yeah.
They've been wrong over and over and over. Even though all of the information in the past can be easily assessed and verified from trusted sources, I did consult with multiple experts who helped me correct a few things and add some details. Still, since I am yet another fit pro posing an opinion about COVID, I do encourage you to verify information for yourself and think critically about what you're reading. With that said, if interested, you can swipe and check out my thoughts, of which then he essentially promotes getting the vaccine.
When was that? Does it say?
4 years ago. So in 2021, when it was coming out. And then you
What's
go.
funny, but it's funny because he says fitness people should not be. But I'm going to go ahead and give you my opinion.
Okay. Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah, you don't listen to anybody. Get your information from experts. But I'm a fitness pro, and I believe the experts.
Yeah.
So let me tell you about my opinion based on what the experts have said. I mean, it's so pedantic. Like it just feels condescending and arrogant. And then I went to, and I had never been on his X account, so this was just today. First thing I see is him posting apostate prophet.
Yep. Our guy.
And
there he is.
And a couple guys memeing over here, you know, it's Myron. And I didn't realize this guy was that short that makes the videos. He's kind of like, he's in the lane of Fuentes, but he just makes small commentary videos. Kind of a short king. And then you got Myron, they're doing a Roman salute. And so he says, these people need to watch Schindler's List or Zone of Interest or something, because how can you idolize Adolf Hitler, mean minister, mustache man, and simultaneously think you're a normal person? What?
No, bro. Bro's like a communist, man. Like, okay, so Stalin's cool.
And then this was what do you think about the recent photos of The Rock?
Bro, his face don't look great. His neck doesn't look great.
No, he's clearly lost a bunch of weight.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's sick. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if he just dropped steroids. But then again, Nippard saying, I think he just leaned out and is wearing a loose shirt. Laugh out loud.
Dude, look at his neck.
Look at his neck. Like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? That dude is not the same size. Look at the traps, like to his shoulder.
They're non-existent. They're non-existent.
What are you talking? The dude is not the same size. Yeah, maybe he's on Ozempic.
Yep.
Brady Harvey says homeboy on Ozempic. Could be, but why would he need to be on Ozempic when he was already that big? I think he got off steroids.
Yeah.
And probably for a health reason. He's probably giving up on that stage of his life. And that that's why he did the WWE like last year or something. For like a year, he was back on the WWE as The Rock, as the boss. Maybe he did that as like his last run on steroids to sort of be The Rock. I don't know. I have no idea, but clearly he's not the same size. Anybody telling you he's just wearing a loose shirt. I mean, look at his neck, look at his face. Like he's either lost weight or he's sick.
Well, his neck still looks ginormous and it doesn't fit. You know what I mean?
I mean, look at how he normally looks.
Batista, both of them have huge like jawlines and necks, and their shoulders are just gone.
Look at Batista.
Yeah.
You know, Batista's parents, his mothers were lesbians. So he was raised by two lesbians.
Lord have mercy on him.
And then once he got off steroids, and, you know, he's like a big progressive. And he, you know, this was him as a WWE star. And then this was him afterwards being like a big anti-Trump, but pro-progressive guy wearing pearls. And this was heralded as like, oh, look, Batista, he's wearing pearls to signify that strong men can have a new image. Wow. You see somebody over here use AI and they got Dwayne The Rock Johnson wearing pearls.
Yeah, they're both transitioning, both of them. Lord have mercy. Yeah.
So I don't know. You know, God bless The Rock if he's sick or something. I don't know, but
yeah, you'd hate for that. And
yeah,
it is sad. Like you saw that with Arnold. I'm trying to think if there's any kind of other popular. I've never really heard Stallone talk much. You know, when we're kind of looking at these like older role models who were jacked. You know, that's one of the memes of today. It's like the role models that we grew up with, the 70s, 80s, 90s. They're all huge jack dudes. There's a couple guys who aren't small. What's his name? Chris Hemsworth, you know, Henry Cavill. I know Henry Cavill, I think, is pretty liberal. He's liberal, right?
I don't know if he's liberal.
I think he's pretty.
I thought he was a little
progressive.
bit. I thought he was closer to like the Chris Pratts of the world, but I could be wrong.
I think Chris Pratt's like evangelical or something, isn't he?
Yeah, he is, and he does have some soft opinions. Like he's not a hardcore Christian or anything, even though he like was always talking about and promoting Christianity, which is fine. I get it. They're of that ilk.
Yeah.
But I will say Henry Cavill did a movie role, I think the last Superman, and he refused to take, at least according to
I heard that
rumor of people talking about, he refused to take steroids and wanted to naturally get that big.
Which
so
my 2 cents is if he did, that's super impressive because he's mid-late 30s, right?
Yeah, I'd say mid to late 30s.
Henry Cavill. I mean, my opinion on the whole natty thing, I try and look, we have some better technology now. We have better science now. But, you know, if you're looking back at bodybuilders, late 1800s, early 1900s, right? Depending on your source, testosterone, injectable testosterone and anabolics, probably 1910, 20, 30 is when you're really starting to synthesize it and be able to use it. So I'm pretty confident that most of the guys, 1900, like they were probably fully natural. And so if I look at those guys and you look at Henry Cavill, I'm like, dude, Henry Cavill would be better. Yeah. You've seen the old, like, world's strongest man guy in a circus. He's like, bro, looks like a 55-year-old, you know, uncle at the gym. Like he's kind of got a mid physique. Let's be honest. You know what I mean? Like 1905 circus. And
I bet they were strong as an ox though.
Yeah, that's probably true too. They probably weren't much on bodybuilding comparatively. Yeah. But that's kind of my 2 cents. I'm like, okay, if they're quite a bit bigger than those guys, I'm suspicious. He's 42. So whenever he did his last.
Well, here's one caveat in favor of Henry Cavill. He was against Severus Snape from Harry Potter being a black guy.
All right. He's got one base card.
He's got 1 point going for him there.
He's got one base card.
Hey, God bless him for that. And for The Rock too, and this is going to touch with because I put this right before Mike O'Hearn. You know, The Rock has been notorious for saying that he does not take PEDs. Which
really?
Yeah. He's always claimed to be natural. You didn't know that?
No, bro. Did you show that one photo of him? Can you imagine? This is what I'm saying. Like, imagine, like, go to like The Rock's recent physique, like when, like that, like, you know what I'm saying? Look at it's like 1905, and you see that. Like, you don't have street sculptures that look like that.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, like, I really wonder.
Well, and that's where I saw a video recently that when you look at Greek sculptures and men's physique, they tend to not have a big chest because they didn't do chest training back then. They didn't know like what a full man's chest could potentially look like because they didn't do those types of exercises.
Yeah, you would have a bench press,
like really nice backs and shoulders and abs and, you know, quads, but most of the time they don't have like a big bulky chest because they didn't have the equipment and the stuff that actually helps do that.
That'd be an interesting rabbit hole to go down. Like, you know, statues, at least BC, like exactly how muscular were they? And I think you could probably estimate if you had a guy that was pretty fit, what would it look like if you had another 20 to 30, like a Hercules, you know what I mean?
Right.
But it does make me wonder, like, what did actual guys look like back then? What was the potential?
Right.
And like, again, they probably didn't have great food. They didn't have a gym or anything. So
somebody said he looks like a grandpa with those glasses. I think he looks like he's like a tourist on vacation with that outfit. He looks like somebody's getting ready to ask something about whatever tour he's currently on.
Yep.
We had a super chat that came in over on Streamlabs from Made by Jim Bob's Shoulders, threw in $5 and says, I care how small I am. One day I'll be able to carry a backpack. So Another shots at my buddy Jim Bob. I do not endorse. You guys are just mean, nasty bullies in the chat.
Does your priest know that you're on stream saying this? Does your spiritual father know what you're doing right now?
Does your spiritual father know you're questioning Jim Bob's shoulders right now?
Get out of here.
Gosh.
I don't know about you. That's
the goal of these people. Unreal.
1,000 Jesus.
Anyways, just to finish Nippard here, I was just running through like some of his stuff. And here's Lane Norton. How do we secretly make America healthy again? It's no secret that I'm not impressed by the recent push to remove food dyes, swap seed oils for tallow, or change the sources of sugar and soda. Whenever I push back, I'm seeing a lot of the same responses. Well, at least it's a step in the right direction, but is it? I appreciate that people are rightly concerned about the state of our health, but calling these changes a win or a step forward is a stretch. What?
Yeah, bro.
Seed oils?
Yeah.
Seed oil. So he's in favor of seed oils, food dyes. What was the other one? And then sugar cane. So he's in favor of more artificial,
fructose,
corn fructose syrup instead of what? Like who can be claimed science backed and be that ignorant? Like you just almost have to be so devoted to the institution. It's unreal.
Is he just rage baiting? Yeah, I mean,
maybe.
That gets a lot of engagement. And, Jeff would know that. This is what I'm saying is that people get so warped that they start doing videos in a certain way. They're saying a certain thing. And then it just becomes positive feedback loop. Like I know he knows if he says that, food babe, organic grandma, like whoever it is, like, trad based mom, blah, 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 they'll come and engage in that. Right. Like if I bet, on both ends. Right. You'll have other science-based people who are like, yeah, that's right, Lane. There's no evidence that food dyes. I could probably Google like red dye 40 and ADHD. And it's like, yeah, it's actually beaver anus secretion.
So I just thought that was amazing and so emblematic. I found this right before we joined to do this stream. And I was going through Nipper like, oh my gosh, not only did he repost Lane Norton's complaining about everything that RFK Jr. is doing and everything that we've been wanting from like the FDA and HHS and all this different stuff. And then here's Nippard complaining about the form of RFK Jr. and Pete Hegseth. And I'm not here to defend either one of these guys, but it's the last rep in a series of going to failure doing pull-ups. And he says, this is one of the worst and most common pull-up mistakes I see guys make, refusing assistance. It takes an ego check to use a pull-up machine, a band, or a partner for assistance, but serious lifters find it respectable. Yeah. Acknowledge your current strength level and build from there.
Thank you, bro.
Like, what? Like all they're doing is they're on their last set. Yeah, they're have bad form and they're kicking their feet. Okay, that's fine for your last freaking rep on going to max on pull-ups.
And the dude is
what
70.
A retard.
He's 71.
He's 71 years old.
I wonder how many people in Congress who are 71 can do a push-up, let alone dude, pull-ups are hard.
They are.
Pull-ups are extremely hard. For 71
squat of the upper body.
Yeah. I hope at 71 I can still do pull-ups.
So anyway, I saw that. I was like, gosh, this guy is such a freaking imbecile. Yeah. Like that's why you can find him annoying.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. I wonder if they're just rage baiting at the end of the day. That's the sad thing. Or, ultimately that is what they believe and follow.
And here's him defending again food dyes. Artificial dye panic is crazy. The empty calories is what makes this unhealthy, not the coloring. And then post why the FDA banned red dye 3. And it's by science-based med. I'm curious who supports this.
Yeah, Bob Steen or
who? Yeah, I want to know who.
No,
okay. Anyways, yeah. Anyways, the fact that this is like Nippard's thing is going into appealing to these things.
Well,
and then he's making fun of Michael Knowles too. He says, "I'm going to eat more tasty animals to offset your switch."
Oh, Jeff, I was going to say, Jeff came out, I'm pretty sure, on the lab grown meat and maybe even
Yeah.
Lane, right? Both of them were pro lab grown meat. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, I'm eating lab grown meat. The second it's a mass market ready, it's biologically identical to animal meat and will reduce suffering more than any technology. Oh,
so true.
oh, the
You're my
poor
hero.
animals, they're suffering. And
You're my
I'm not here
hero.
to endorse factory farming. It's disgusting.
Yep.
But your ethical farm that butchers their animals and sells the meat, okay. More than any technology in the history of our planet, as long as enough people switch over from factory farm meat.
We can do it.
Eat your impossible meat, guys. Save the animals.
Save them. Them and me. How dare you? How dare you still eat regular meat?
Yeah. How dare you eat a ribeye? And so he says, Michael knows. And funny response, I'm going to eat more tasty animals to offset your switch to lab-grown meat. And then he says, get your protein, bro. And when you're ready to start lifting, jeffnipper.com/programs. Oh, boom.
I'm all right with that. It's kind of Knowles isn't the most muscular guy. I'm okay with a little banter every now and then.
Knowles could definitely use some workouts. That's for damn sure. And that's where it gets back to what you said, like, yeah, but how much do you bench press, bro? You know, if a Chad masculine dude responded to Nipper like, no, dude, I eat animal protein.
Yep.
What's he gonna say then?
Yep.
Like he doesn't have anything.
You're
so mean. You eat animals?
You gotta save the planet. Captain Planet.
There's so much suffering. Okay, next one.
This fitness influence.
Here's a very prominent YouTube channel called Athlean-X. And this little video exposing that he was using fake weights to make it look like him being at such a low body weight, he could lift more than he actually could.
Tried to fool everyone with fake weights. The controversy began when people started questioning his physique. Surprisingly, this individual is 49 years old and appears better than many men have.
And hey, kudos to him.
Bro, he's peeled.
Yeah, and he's now over 50 some years old.
Yep.
And he looks fantastic. So shout out to him. I don't know if he claims to be natural or not, but that's a great physique for somebody that age. Congrats.
Dude, yeah, I didn't see his stuff till about 2 years ago, and I was like, I was actually looking like hamstring exercises to send to a patient. I was like, dang, dude, this guy's peeled. Like, he's peeled, and I did notice that too. I was like, dude, he's so strong for being like peeled. So it's interesting you say that.
So anyways, that does not justify, even though giving him credit for being in such great shape at his age, that does not justify him using fake weights.
Jeff Cavalier attempted to demonstrate his strength and credibility by posting a video titled Crazy Arms Workout, where he casually curled 135 pounds for reps, pin pressed 315 pounds, and deadlifted 500 pounds for 2 reps without breaking a sweat. However, viewers noticed weights appeared fake since the bar didn't bend as it normally would under such heavy loads. People quickly caught on, calling him out for the deception. Rather than addressing the criticism, Jeff reportedly deleted negative comment. He later attempted to prove himself by deadlifting 425 pounds with poor form, slamming the bar down afterward. Not only did this confirm he had previously used fake weights, but his form contradicted his own training advice. Add to the scandal, another influencer uncovered a company supposedly selling the same fake weights Jeff had used. This fitness
So again, another sort of, I wouldn't put him in the same category as Liver King, but the same sort of, faking some type of presentation to garner more prestige amongst the community.
Do you remember Bradley Castleberry?
Yes.
I actually lifted at the same gym. I spotted him a couple of times hitting. He got accused of fake weights all the time, and that dude was actually super strong. I spotted him inclining 495. Inclining. I was like, bro,
incline bench press 495.
Yeah.
Holy.
Right. It was probably 500, right? Because he probably put on the.
Gosh.
Yeah. I was like, bro, I do not feel. I'm not lifting this on. Like, if you can't, like, I can upright row maybe 200 pounds. So, like, depending on, he might have even got it for like 3. But he was a guy. He actually, we chatted about earlier, the effects of neurologically of using lots of anabolics, and I think he was known for using lots of nandrolone. Like I talked about, nandrolone decanate or deca, and it makes you more kind of socially awkward. You know, some people go as far to say like homosexual from it, like it changes your disposition. He was interesting one because he would always go, ooh, and he'd come out, like, if you remember, like his thing was like he'd do a ton of weight, whatever it was, and he'd do like, you know, dumbbell presses 150s for like 12. And you go, ooh. And
yeah,
then
if you guys don't remember, here he is.
He got approached. Yeah, fake plates is the first thing. And people would come up to him at like the Arnold, and I wonder if he's still doing stuff.
Here's his YouTube channel.
It's right here in Bennett.
Let's see.
Super nice guy. You know what I mean? I kind of felt
ago. Yeah, 9 months ago.
But there was a lot of people would like come, and he was a guy that at like the Arnold and stuff, guys would go up and mess with, and he kind of had like a very timid disposition. Like people would come up and mess with him a lot. You know what I mean? And with his personality was just kind of goofy, I guess. I liked him. If he ever sees this, I chatted with him in the gym several times. Was a nice guy, spotted him and all that. But I forget who. It might have been Derek from More Plates. He's like, yeah, you can see this neurological disposition develop when people are using lots of nandrolone over a long period of time, and they become socially awkward. Right there, he's dumbbell incline pressing 200s. November 2020, right? Those are 200s.
Yeah.
Bro, that's a lot.
That is a lot of weight. Holy shit.
And he's inclining. So that's four, you know. Look at
It's
this guy.
not a super big incline though. It's probably like,
bro, it's still inclined. I don't know how much that guy's helping.
that's a shit ton of weight though.
Bro.
Good Lord.
And you know how much harder dumbbell is than regular.
Yeah. No, that is a shit ton of weight. Well, which brings us to our next guy who,
there he is.
What are your thoughts on Mike O'Hearn? Now, I'm going to
Michael
get
Hearn, that guy has been using steroids since I was 7 years old. This guy thinks he's natural. He's not nothing natural about this guy.
I will say I actually like Mike O'Hearn.
I do too.
I think, you know, I will say his physique, for anybody who doesn't know, I mean, Mike O'Hearn's what, 53 years old?
Yeah, maybe more. Is he?
Let's see. I think he's like 53 or
56, man.
56. Holy shit.
Yeah.
So he's 56 years old. And let's just go back and go to images. And he still looks exactly the same.
Yeah.
So this was like when he was like 48 or 49 or something. He still looks like this.
Yep.
And everybody thinks the dude has to be on steroids.
Yeah.
And
he could just, you know,
I mean, it makes sense why you would think that.
Yeah. When she calls you
narcissistic, abusive, and misogynistic, but can't say ugly.
Dude, his memes are great. And he even reposts them. It's not just a bunch of like chads that are taking his stuff. You know what I mean? So there are pretty funny ones where he walks up, you know what I mean? It says it has like a meme like that when she calls you narcissistic, abusive, misogynist, but she can't say you're hungry, you know. And he does a lot of them that are like, yeah, that's cool, bro. What do you bench? You know what I mean? So I like him. I think his memes are funny. And things I've said or things that I've heard him chat about is pretty based, even with training and whatnot.
He's
right?
a conservative guy. I think his wife is Romanian, and I think she's Orthodox, and he's kind of like some evangelical Christianity. And I think they go to more evangelical stuff, but she'll post like every Pascha and Christmas nativity going to the Orthodox church. So, you know, take that whatever. But he is more, you know, right of center. And he had a funny interview with Jesse Lee Peterson that I watched. It was pretty funny. But I mean, what I will say about Mike O'Hearn is he has been that size his whole life. So you can find photos of Mike O'Hearn in high school, which is unbelievable how big he was. Let's see. Come on, give me something.
Well, he was on, what's it called? Gladiator?
He was on American Gladiators, but you can find there's videos and photos of him like out of high school, and he was already ginormous.
Yep.
And super, super strong. And so is it possible? Like, yeah, this was him at like, he was in the newspaper for football. He was like 14, 15 years old here.
Yeah.
So
there are guys.
Could
That's what I'm
he
saying.
be natural? I think it might be. It's hard to conceptualize at 56 years old that he still looks like that. But he was ginormous, and he's basically the same body weight and size he's been for, you know, the last 30 years. So, but he is in phenomenal
56 for the last 40 years, right? If he was 15, 40, that's 55, right?
Well, I was thinking once he got to like Venice Beach.
I'm saying, right, if that picture he's 14 or 15, that's 40 years he's been.
Yeah, this was him like right after
14.
high school, in high school.
It says right there, Mike O'Hearn at 14 years old.
14 years old.
Could be. I mean, he looks like he's like 18 there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we don't know. There is this thing called CAG repeats, which basically tell you how sensitive you are to testosterone. We don't know enough about it right now. But if I had to put money down on it, like if we drew his testosterone right now, like he's like 3,000 or 4,000, you know, he's
that's what I mean. Maybe he just genetically has a shit ton of testosterone. I don't know. Seems like he probably is. And so here's a few videos of people asking him to his face.
Do you still claim lifetime natural?
Well, the cool thing is we're going to put out the blood work.
If you are claiming natural, assume this company, based on what I'm seeing laid around, is a hormone optimizing
Yes,
clinic.
it is.
Titan
So
is.
do you take TRT?
Natural is natural, right? And any kind of TRT or HRT would be unnatural, right?
Wait, so are you on TRT or are you just promoting TRT?
Oh, I'm promoting optimum health.
So are you doing it though?
Is that what people are doing now? Going, hey, I'm natural, but I'm on TRT?
Is it yes or no?
I'm showing you the blood work,
Yeah.
so you can go with it,
Okay.
and then you can make your decision to the fans.
But yes or no, are you optimizing your hormones?
Are you trying to get views? He's trying to get views. Stay
Well,
tuned
yes or
for
assume.
is Mike natty or not?
Do you still claim lifetime natural?
I mean, we need to watch the original one. He slipped around that, right? You would just like, no, I've never taken tests. It's not that hard of a question. I mean, that's him. You should have him and Jordan Peterson go in a circle. Do you believe in God, or do you take steroids? What do you depends? What do you mean by testosterone?
You're criticized all the time by these online bodybuilders, and you lean into that too. Like, yeah, fake natty, sure.
You know what's funny about that stuff is you're always going to have the haters, right? And if they want to believe this or that, they can go have fun with it, and I'll lay into them because it's at the end of the day, I'm still me. I'm still having fun.
Just feels like it's not going away. And the fact that you keep kind of leaning into it, maybe it's helpful. I don't know.
I do notice that it's always me and the Rock and stuff. I don't mind getting tied to the Rock in that sense.
Yeah. Joe Rogan brought this up.
Yeah.
Talked about you for a while.
Yeah, he
on
did.
that podcast.
And Joe Rogan has talked about doing HRT and stuff. And then he looks the way he does. My point is, if you think something is going to make you
shots fired,
the Rock, or make you the fastest runner in the world, it's not that. Go from the frog to the prince.
Yeah.
It does not do that.
Yeah.
Bro, it does. So I was a natural, right? I was natty until I was 30. And if you have low levels and you get on test, world of difference. Like world of difference. Like guys who are like, well, just taking gear doesn't do it. Dude, it does a lot. It's like trying to work out without caffeine. Like when you're on testosterone and you're natty and you move the testosterone, I could work out. I went from working out 5 days a week for a little over an hour to I could work out 3 times a week for 45 minutes and maintain my gains, actually grow. Because testosterone tells your body, it literally is it says increase protein synthesis, increase collagen synthesis. Totally game changer. So like, I can't stand that. Like, and don't get me wrong, you still have to put the,
what do you mean by natty, bucko?
Exactly. So I can't stand that when guys are like, honestly, the professional bodybuilders now, it is more of a scientific experiment. You still have to put the work in. But dude, you take Jay Cutler and you take all of his gear away, and I could get sauced up, my honest opinion, and get bigger than him. Like, it's the day and night. I would put money, like, and you can go and look at where they were when they were natural. Like, look at Phil Heath when he was natty.
I mean, Ronnie Coleman was still ginormous before he started taking.
Well, we think. I bet he was on a test base. Yeah, I mean, in Arnold.
He claims he wasn't taking anything, but he also claims he was very ignorant about what he was taking because somebody else was giving it to him.
Yep. Basic stuff, testosterone and DECA, basic stuff. And that is, in all honesty, comparative to trend and master, like a lot of these other anabolics, it's pretty base level. When I've heard Bumstead talk about gear, like comparatively to what other guys I've heard talk, his doses were way lower.
Well, that was his argument, is he tries to take the least amount as possible to achieve his physique. Just because he's worried about long-term health problems. And I think this is like his last year, isn't it? Has he officially said he's competing? Because last year was going to be, and then he won Classic Physique. And I thought he's still training and he's going to compete this year, which will be like his last year. And then he's going to be done with professional bodybuilding.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be interesting to see. And a lot of those guys, you can tell when they come off because they just absolutely deflate. And maybe they stop. I mean, just look at The Rock. Like, what? Like, how can you lose 40 pounds of muscle? It's like, people don't understand. The more testosterone you have, it's like magazine capacity. Like, you literally can only get so much glycogen. You can literally get so much protein, muscle synthesis. There's a max capacity that you're able to reach. And when you're on test, that increases that. And then the anabolics make it even way higher.
Right.
So, and that's where, go ahead. Well, I was just saying that the myostatin inhibitors are the ones that are kind of coming out now. Like, you've seen pictures of the bulldogs that are super ripped and huge.
Yeah.
And the cows. Yeah, they've been coming out with myostatin inhibitors. Like, those pictures are from like 5 or 10 years ago, though. Myostatin, it's like, think about it, muscle stat. It's like what stops your muscles from growing. So you inhibit the thing that tells you to stop growing.
Right.
So it will be interesting if that comes out. Then all the bodybuilders are just going to take that and grow.
Fluoride junkie says, but CDC said low test is normal.
He knows what's up. He's got the fluoride. You got your red dot. You got your red dot. You got your fluoride. You got your low test. Your soy maxing, bro. You're good.
All right. Here's Michael Hearn on another one's got 1.1 million views.
With the legend Mike O'Hearn here. It's an honor. Just quick questions. A lot of people have accused you of being a fake natty. Okay. What would you say to the guys that are natty? What do they need to do to achieve a physique like yours?
I wouldn't say much to them. To the guys that want to do this for a long period of time, you got to go back, and you can say whatever you want about me, but I've been here since the 80s, and I'm still here today. So there's a long road to take. It's a tough road, but for those that really want it, do the long road. Don't do the short term.
And so to the asking you, and we're going to move on from Mike O'Hearn, but for those that claim, so there's other bodybuilders that work out with Mike O'Hearn that claim that he is natural and that they've known him, his professional life, 20 some years. They say, well, I don't know what he does when he goes home, but I've worked out with him and he's been the same the whole time. And that there's never like dramatic differences in the way he looks or his strength. And he always appeals to that when he talks about, well, look at my career. Could I do that if I was on gear? What are your thoughts? Could somebody maintain the consistency of the aesthetic and the strength since the 80s?
Yeah, I mean, from a doctor and biological standpoint, like you look at most guys, right? What did you say? You're like, wow, I'm going to be 36 and I can feel it. Dude, I remember being like 23 and my cousin who was 32 was like, bro, just wait till you're 30. And I was like, dude, you're 32. You're not 52. And then, dude, I remember I told you, I started playing with enclomiphene and clomid in my late 20s to help with testosterone. I don't know. I've been through it. I've chatted and I have a biased population because most of the guys who come to me have low testosterone, right? Like I'm a low testosterone doctor. But being in the industry long enough, it's like, bro, I don't know. You've seen it like for real, powerlifting, those guys last maybe 5 or 10 years, maybe
Right.
10 years before something's going out somewhere. So for him to be natty and made it that long, not be hurt, not tear a pec, and then maybe he had some minor injuries. I don't ever recall,
No,
nothing,
like, no muscle tears.
none. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what was it? Like Larry Wheels. And then,
Yeah, he tore his bicep.
Yep.
And he was working out with a guy who blew his pec out in Dubai.
Yeah. What was his name? The Australian guy.
I forget.
He was another Chris or Brad. Yeah.
I don't know.
So I don't know. I guess it's possible, and they may just have some type of like.
Well, do you think that signifies to Michael Hearn's point that he could be natural? Based on the longevity of his career. I mean, I have no idea. He always appeals to like, well, look at the photos, look at the videos, look at how I've been for, since the 80s. Nothing's really changed. Could I do that if I was on gear? I don't know, unless he was natural for a really long time and maybe he's more recently got on gear to maintain it.
Yeah.
But do you think
that I'd say that's more plausible? Maybe he got into the 30s, and I think dude, when you get to your 40s, just from what I've seen in patients, it's extremely difficult. 50s, 60s, I'm like, wow, 56. That's impressive. That's all I can say. Maybe 56. God. Yeah.
And if you go to his YouTube channel, you can still see he posts like his workouts regularly. Like he still looks absolutely phenomenal.
Yep.
I mean, and he's ginormous. So he's constantly putting stuff out. So if you want to see like what he's up to and what he's doing, like let's see if there's something recent where here's something recent.
Where's he benching down there, bottom left?
For the Sense for Fit Summit with KSM 66 Ashwagandha. But before that, made a quick little pit stop over at Frank Zane's house to go over some finishing touches with the physique, dial in the posing, and add a couple tricks to really help bring out those fibers. This is an old school tool that they're using, and Frank's having him hold some isometrics and raise it at the same time to really bring out those fibers. Guys, you're out in Romania.
Sheesh.
Well, it's just funny. They were talking about KSM 67 or 66, which is ashwagandha, which is a testosterone booster. And I'm like, I don't think maybe he's just a super responder and he's on a bunch of supplements. I would be super interested. I know he says his blood work. I wonder if I can find some on him real quick and see.
Well, that's what Coach Greg just said. He always says that he talks about blood work, but he hasn't seen it or he hasn't posted it. But I don't know. Maybe he has posted it. I have no idea.
I mean, just AI said there is no publicly available blood
work for Michael Hearn. So he always says that though. Pablo Winscobar said he takes KSM 66.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right. Moving forward here. The next one I wanted to, we're not going to cover this, but this was we're going to skip it just because we're already 3.5 hours into the stream. But there was a fitness influencer, Brittany Dawn, and I'll tell you exactly because I looked it up. She sold personalized fitness and nutrition coaching plans, but gave clients generic templates or nothing at all. And then dozens of women came forward. She offered refunds only if they signed NDAs, not exposing what she did. Then she was eventually sued by these people. And as soon as this all came out, she converts to Christianity. And now she's like a Christian fitness influencer. And she's always posting stuff about Jesus and letting God take her life and leading her life forward. And I think it's great that she found Christ.
Mm-hmm.
But I just thought, like Nala, it's very convenient for some of these women when there's a fallout for something that they did. All of a sudden, then they're Christians, and she keeps talking about forgiveness and why people need to forgive her and all this stuff. It's like the same thing. Skrinapneski says she looks like Blair White with blonde hair.
Why don't I know who's Blair White?
Blair White's the transgender conservative commentator. I shouldn't have told you she's transgender, and I should have asked you if you think she's hot. Yeah. I should. Dang it.
Something felt goofy. Is maybe not. Yeah.
Anyways, that's what this article is about. So Brittany Dawn, you can look her up. Just another, again, exposing the fitness industry. this is one that I wanted to bring up right before we went live. And so Joey Swole, who seems like a nice guy, I've watched, you know, not just his Instagram videos, you know, there's tons of his Instagram videos, but, you know, him working out with like Larry Wheels and other people. But he freaking bent the knee. So he's a massive dude, really has a ginormous upper body. Like his upper body's huge. And he did have heart problems. I know he's on gear because he's talked about it. But he did a thing the day that Hulk Hogan died, which was right here. He posted a video of himself working out and Hulk Hogan stuff.
That's cool.
And this was at you know, Gold's Gym in Venice. So the iconic gym, dressed up as Hulk Hogan. Well, then he got backlash from black people because Hulk Hogan said a naughty word at one point to his daughter. And then he went and did a public apology. And that's what I'm getting ready to show you guys now.
I owe my followers, my community, and all of social media an apology. A few days ago, I reposted an old video of me in the gym wearing a Hulk Hogan Halloween costume on the day that he passed. Last night in my live stream, a lot of people expressed how upset and frustrated they were.
Hey, and by the way, chat, everybody who's here, can we get Hulk Hogan's in the chat, please? Everybody who's a member, can we get Hulk Hogan's in the chat? We are not a Hulk Hogan apology channel. We
brother. There
we believe in America. We believe in the Hulk. We're Hulkamaniacs, brother.
I saw some earlier.
I should say HH in the chat.
With me that I had posted that. Instead of listening and understanding like I should have, I became defensive and said that I was posting to celebrate the wrestling icon, the person that so many of us looked up to as kids that we grew up with, that made us tear our shirts and take our vitamins and say our prayers. I didn't know to the extent of all the horrible things that he had done. Since last night, I have done a lot of research, talked to a few people, and learned all of the horrible things that man has done, which is way more than just making a mistake and being human. So because of that, I have taken the videos down and I apologize to anybody that I offended. I am sorry. Also, during last night's live stream, I used the word colored instead of saying person of color, which is a very outdated, very offensive term. Somebody educated me and told me that it wasn't okay to use that, which
Bro, it's gonna make me vomit, dude. I can't, you know, the first minute was all right, but at the end, I'm so sorry.
I used the word colored instead of people of color.
Apologized to everyone and said I would never do that again. So once again, to anybody that I offended, I am sorry. You know, my whole page, my whole brand is based on holding people accountable and doing better. I would be a hypocrite if I didn't hold myself to the same standards. I am human. I am still growing. I am still learning. And I promise all of you, I will do better. I have nothing but love and kindness in my heart. I will continue to try to make the world a better place. And once again, to everybody, I apologize.
Now he's getting ready to tell us he has a black friend and a trans friend, and so he can't be transphobic and racist. Gosh,
hold on. They're in the car right now. Let me show you. I'm not racist.
Oh my God. So Screwed Up Nevsky said, what did he say? I mean, he didn't say anything. He worked out in a video that had, let's see if I can find it. He deleted the video, but I'm sure somebody's already uploaded it on X. Anyways, I'm not seeing it, but it's this video here where he's dressed up like Hulk Hogan. All he did was work out, and then he posed and posted the photo online. That's all he did. You ask, like, what did he do? That's what he did. And he apologized because people started telling him that Hulk Hogan's racist.
Dude, it was not that bad. Until he said I allowed them to educate me or whatever. Like, that's the part where you're like, oh, I was educated by these minorities, that how oppressive I was.
Yeah, I can't believe I told them that they're colored and not people of color.
Oh man.
What, dude? And so
That's
it
a
just
tough one,
showed
man.
how manipulable. The reason why he brought up Joey Swole for today's stream is to show you how manipulable these fitness industry influencers are as well.
Yep.
So generally speaking, you know, I agree with a lot of the stuff. You know, Joey Swole does a bunch of videos calling out like these OnlyFans girls in the gym, constantly posting tripods, bending over in front of the camera, even doing like sexually explicit stuff in the gym.
I have seen
Fair
those.
enough. Thank you, Joey Swole, for that.
Yep.
But to see how weak he was just because he got a little bit of flack because Hulk Hogan died and he worked out dressed as Hulk Hogan, dude, come on, bro. Like it, so you always have to take now, in my opinion, you have to take what he says with a grain of salt because he's just going to do whatever the culture tells him to do.
Yep.
He has no principles.
Yep.
He has no foundation.
Yeah, I was trying to think about a snarky reply about, well, this offended me because you said that, Joey. Can I get an apology too? Oh, no.
Yeah, that's a great point, Pablo. He says he bent the knee for people that aren't fans. True, fact.
Yep.
And then lost his real fans. True, in fact. Total beta move. I mean, I'm sure some people are still follow it, but it's like now when I see Joey Swole, that's all I can think about.
Yep.
Is him groveling to these people when Hawk. I mean, what was that, last month? And or 2 months ago. So this is July 29th. Right. So this was right at the end of July. It's like, come on, dude. Like, you're so big and strong and you're always calling people. You can't just say, you know, even if you want, you didn't even need to address it. If people are upset because you like Hulk Hogan, like, okay. You know,
yeah,
if I say I voted for Trump, does that mean I have to apologize because he grabbed women by the, you know what?
Yep, you do. Where's your apology? I'm sorry. All of those,
I'm
the Church
sorry.
of Eternal Logos.
Thank you guys for educating me. I didn't know that the big, bad, orange, blonde-haired man, he said that. And that is just so harmful.
How could you support him? How could you? How dare you?
What was it? Oh, and then Ashton Hall, this dude. Did you guys see this phenomenon?
Nice. It's 3 a.m., bro.
Yeah, 3 a.m. This is my favorite part of his videos. Is he has to set a camera up for every one of these cuts.
Yeah.
So the whole goal is to make it look like you're following his morning routine. When
he has
in
an
fact,
Oura ring on, though. He has an Oura ring on.
Well, and it's just not true. Like he'll say 3:58, you know, opening my Saratoga water to wash the toothpaste out of my mouth, which is what he's getting ready to do. Then he puts his face into bowls of Saratoga and fruit.
Wow.
And the timeline of the stuff does not make sense with somebody filming themselves, having to move the tripod, set the video up. Like that didn't happen 30 seconds later. No, that was probably like 15, 20 minutes later.
Yep.
But it's just so freaking fake. And he called out I Show Speed, the live streamer, to do a foot race. He lost. Then he wanted to do it again, lost again, then wanted to do it again, lost again, and really he's kind of fallen off since then. I think he still posts this stuff, but he was like super, super viral for a few weeks, really, probably a couple months.
Nice.
Oh, and then he's reading his Bible, getting his morning scripture reading in by 4:40, and now he's
Make
writing.
sure you let everyone know, bro. Pray out
He's
in
writing
public.
his agenda out.
Yep.
Preaching about the arrival of Christ.
Wow. Got a Gucci bag. Rolex. What's up, King?
So 6:16, he's got a camera on a tripod in front of the elevator, closes it. Then he has to ride the elevator back up to get his camera. And then go back down, open it, set the tripod up. It's so
Bro,
stupid.
it's tough. I mean, what's funny is with all this kind of influencer it only continues to get worse and worse and worse. And there's these games you have to play, unfortunately. You know what I mean? Like anyone that wants to be in the fitness industry, anyone's going to do any of these things. Like again, I was in the gym today and it's like, I don't know, there was multiple people in my gym. They have their tripod set up and they're coming at different angles. They get done. They move the camera, editing, all that stuff. But it's what you got to do to make it, man. He's probably selling.
We're only halfway through his morning routine. So let's watch the rest.
Okay. What else we got? 20. Wow, nice bag, dude. Nice. Oof.
Going up.
The camera is still there, bro. You left it.
3, 2, 1.
Wow. Look at that move.
It's me, man. That's crazy. Thank you, bro.
This has to be a Saratoga commercial.
I would assume.
I bet it was.
Thank you.
So he's looking at content of himself.
Nice.
You've made your first 10,000. Congratulations. We got to do at least 20, bro.
Bro, him and Wes Watson are gonna do a collab, bro.
It's so contrived. But I'm sure Saratoga's probably paying him for all the exposure they get from his videos. I thought I hadn't seen when he first saw it, I was like, oh, that blue bottle, I've seen that. What is that? And then I figure out, oh, it's Saratoga mineral water. Oh,
Yep.
okay. Like, so it even caused me to like figure out what it was. But
got you.
It's so contrived.
He got you, bro.
Did he dry his face with a banana peel? Yes, he did, Blue Skittle. He did, in fact.
Careful. Guy likes banana peels on his face, okay? It's all right. He's allowed to like bananas, right?
Hulk Hogan
all
does
that
not
potassium.
approve.
Hulk Hogan.
Oh man. So I think that was like one of my last things, yeah, for today. But what are your general thoughts on everything that we looked at?
Yeah, man. I think overall, my main thing that we had chatted about is especially on the science side, the whole like, okay, how can you make these scientific claims? You can't claim morality, good and bad. And then you see that feed into the personal trainer, influencer world, right? Like, Lord have mercy on Joey for caving because he doesn't have a doesn't have a backbone. He has anything to stand on, right? So his morality.
That's what I think. He has no foundation. So he's probably, maybe he's, I think he's kind of right of center maybe, but it doesn't seem like he really has any foundational principle. I don't think he's Christian. At least he's never ever expressed a Christian sentiment or belief in Christ or anything like that. And he is ginormous influence, or at least did. I'm not sure what the same impact or if he's noticed a drop off after this whole fiasco or not. But yeah, it shows us, this big, muscular, masculine man. And then he's apologizing because he said colored instead of people of color.
Yep.
And he's, apologizing because he dressed up like Hulk Hogan, which in that video, he said he was his childhood hero and like really impacted his life. Okay, well, what does that have to do with anything that Hulk Hogan did in the rest of his life? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if not that I would, but if I wore an OJ Simpson Buffalo Bills jersey, do I have to apologize?
You might be onto something there. There's going to be OJ Simpson.
There's going to be OJ Simpson Buffalo Bills jerseys. Anyways, it's just, from Mike Israetel, Lane Norton, Jeff Nippard, to Joey Swoll. I think it's just important for people to see the paradigms and the worldviews that a lot of these fitness influencers are coming from and realize that they're incredibly manipulable. They really don't stand on much. I mean, when you look at who are those that were outspoken about the COVID jabs? Not many. There's a handful of people that said, I'm not getting it. I'm not going to get it, or talked, critically about it, but they weren't really the major accounts. They weren't the people with millions of subscribers. It's like those people ended up staying fairly quiet, or like Nippert and Norton just fully endorsing it.
I think Bradley Martin, I remember they shut his gym down, right? He tried to stay open.
He tried to stay open, I believe.
Yeah.
And he took the fines, and then he won in like 2023 or 2024 and got his money back. So good for him. Again, don't support all the OnlyFans stuff he promotes, but good for Bradley Martin for at least having some principles.
Yep. Yeah, no, I was trying to just think off the top of my head, like what people did stand up. You and I were, remember that? Realize. Stick it in our corpse. When we had, what did you have, like 7,000 followers, and I probably had 5 or 6.
Yep.
2020, right? Where were you at? You were starting over.
Oh, geez. In 2020, this YouTube channel maybe had 1,000 subscribers.
Probably.
Maybe 2,000. It wasn't very big. In 2020.
Go back and watch that one, folks. We were coming at you live. 2020. It was called Realize. I remember I asked you, dude, we should stream about what's going on right now, because there were not very many level heads, right? We were chatting, what was to come, right? How does this look? Are they going to have some type of miracle medicine? And I remember screwed up Nevsky. Ian Smith was a guy in New Jersey. He kept his gym open. I was in Oceanside. They arrested Lou. The gym was called Metroflex. They stayed open the whole time. They came and arrested him. And the gym was full of police officers, Marine, and they literally came out and put him in handcuffs, took him in. Wow. So Lou, it's going to make me feel bad. Shout out to Lou, but he was in Oceanside at Metroflex at the time. Because, that was mostly in California, right? That was going down, and where Bradley was in, he's in Woodland Hills, I think, LA area. You could get away with it in a small town. Like I'm in Boise now, my hometown. You could have got away with it. But in California, dude, right? They were like going after people on the beach. I went to go hiking, and they had like signs up, like where you park to go hike somewhere. And they're like, get back in your car. They had like tape around the local park. Like I was just trying to go and do pull-ups and stuff at the local parks. And they had like it all. They took down basketball nets. Bro, they literally took down basketball nets. They literally went out and put zip ties. Like this was like 4 years ago. They zip tied
5 years ago. That's what I told Jenny today, because she was reflecting on a memory from COVID, and I go, that was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And she's like, what? 5? Oh my gosh. It feels like 2 years ago. And I was like, yeah, it does. It does feel like it was just the other day.
Friday the 13th, March 2020. I remember it was Friday the 13th.
And that's crazy how long. I mean, it's 5.5 years ago.
Yep.
5.5 years ago was the lockdown, and it does not feel that long ago at all.
Well, in glory to God, that's why we do still remember it. We should. Like the tyranny that happened. Oh, dude, you look back, they literally went out and zip tied basketball. Like who? Like what?
Well, they put sand in a skate park.
Yeah.
They covered the skate park in Venice in sand. It's unreal. Sidereal Moonwalker throws in $2 and says, any book suggestions on World War II history? I can't say that I have a bunch of books that come to mind. The only one that comes immediately to my mind is Pat Buchanan's.
Oh, yep.
What was it? Churchill, Hitler, and the Unnecessary War.
Unnecessary War.
That one's a pretty good one. Obviously there's some controversial documentaries you can get into online.
There's one about Europe.
I don't know. I would say probably the best person to answer that question is Daryl. Gosh, I'm having a brain fart. The guy that was on Tucker Carlson.
Oh,
Daryl Daryl Cooper's series on World War II. He covers all the books. He even reads David Irving. So I would recommend, and I think he shares the books that he reads, Sidereal Moonwalker. So if you're really wanting to do a deep dive into World War II, I would check out Daryl Cooper's podcast on World War II, or maybe refer to some interviews, because he refers to a tons of really interesting books that I have not read. I can't say that I spent a lot of time diving into World War II literature. So that's what I would, at least for me, that's what I would recommend, brother.
Oh no, I was thinking about Jupiter's Moon is what I was thinking about.
I have not read that. I don't even know that book is.
Yeah. Never mind. I think people know. There's a Jupiter moon. Yeah. Yeah. Europa. Do you ever heard about Jupiter's moon?
Oh, okay.
Europa.
Yeah, okay. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
It's kind of how good like the Israelis are at dancing, you know?
I'm picking up what you're putting down now.
Yeah. That's not a movie though. It's a documentary on Jupiter's moon, Europa. It's pretty good.
Pablo Winscabar throws in 5, says, I got to pay up. This has been a great stream. Thank you, gents. Well, thank you, Pablo. God bless you, brother. Appreciate you being here and appreciate everybody who's shown support today. God bless you guys.
Last battle of Jupiter moon. Screwed up. Yeah, he got me.
The last battle of Jupiter's moon. Nevsky, he's picking up what you're putting down for sure. Enzo M throws in 20. Thank you so much, Enzo. He says, I'm a catechumen right now, and I'm worried about losing a lot of weight during fast because I'm already skinny, even when I feel like I stuff my face to gain mass, and I don't want to get even skinnier or be a glutton.
Bro, go talk to your priest, man. I don't know who your priest is or your spiritual father is. In my opinion, I see a lot of catechumens come in and they go straight into the fast. And depending on who your spiritual father is or your priest, they'll be like, dude, don't. Honestly, you're a catechumen. Like this is, go talk to your priest, go talk to your spiritual father. But right, the point of the fast is to not eat. So there are particulars, like there's a
tamper down your appetite in regards to all your passions. So it's a spiritual exercise. The point of the fast it is not about, optimizing health. It's about tampering the spiritual and satiating your passions and your appetite. I would recommend.
I'm just saying, one of the priests at my church, he'll just straight out say, like, step 1 is eating less. That is the whole point of the fast, is denying yourself. Then you start worrying about meat, oil, blah, 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 all that other stuff. But every priest kind of has a different opinion. God's put you in a place of a spiritual father, and you go to him and you talk about it. And then 2, if you have a doctor, I have people that I have lots of Orthodox and that they have like skin issues. They have weight issues, anorexia, all these different things. And I literally say, hey, I'm your doctor. This is what I'd recommend from a health standpoint. Your priest will, almost every person that I've had that has a spiritual father, when I say, hey, they have skin issues, can we do a carnivore diet on them? I know the fast is coming up. Let's do this, or this. Take that to your priest. And most priests are like, yeah, if you're, Porphyrios, Paisios, many of the saints, when they got sick, their diets were edited. You know what I mean? Due to doctors. So like, don't become worldly about it. But I think you go to your priest and you say stuff like this, and, on our end, make sure you get enough protein. Honestly, just make sure you get enough. That's like goal number 1 during the fast. If you get enough protein, you're not in a severe caloric deficit. But I do say that in the fast, I personally try and lose a little bit of weight. That's kind of the point, right? If I go into the fast and I gain weight, then I'm not doing it right. Like, I don't think you should be bulking during your fast. And that's why the church has the feasts and the famines and the different, parts of the year. Like my priest says that. He goes, we have time for feasting. It's not like you're supposed to be denying yourself all the time. We have feasts for a reason. We have fast for a reason, right? Like everyone gets excited. We have, meat fair. We have cheese week. These things are put there for a purpose. And, every spiritual father or priest that I've talked to has been super understandable about that. Right. And they know more than me. But from a doctor perspective, I think most often if you bring that up, your priest will work with you. And you can just say, hey, I'm small. I'm trying to put on weight. It's better for my health. We're doing the fast. Where does this go, Father?
And I will add one thing. Let me pull it up real quick. So well, quick, if anybody wants to join the Logos Academy, support my work, and get access to exclusive content and our members meetings, do so with this link right here. What I was going to say for Enzo, if he wants, check out this this cookbook right here. I'm a affiliate with Seraphim and Father Moses. This is an Orthodox fasting cookbook for strength and performance. And if you use this promo code that I'm sharing right now, you'll get a little bit off on the asking price. So this is a great resource if you're looking for legitimate diets that will be high protein, help you keep your gains and everything during all that fasting period. Check out that cookbook that may be of use for you. I'm not totally sure, but yeah, that's a good resource, good Orthodox resource if you need one. So, and then anyways, let me just double check if we have any other super chats or questions or comments. Do you have any final comments or conclusion for today's topic on the fitness industry and many of the more influential figures within it?
Yeah, I think from my perspective is just really like seeing them put science as the God, and ultimately you can't do that, right? You had a pretty good rant about the objective reality, materialism. Science is not a worldview; it's a tool to help you collect data. Right. And they tote it like a religion, and I think it's super important for us. That's what we see happens to a lot of people. Even during, even with Orthodox people during the virus, there were plenty of people who were pro-science, listen to science, do these things that go against the church. It's like, dude, Christ comes first. We've lived through the Black Plague. We've lived through all these different things. And really, Jesus is the way and the truth and light. He is the Logos. He's the operating system by which everything makes sense, right? You have to have truth. You have to have objective truth for science to even work. And they skip right past that. Right. And that's the thing that kind of, I think that's kind of the ecumenistic movement is getting to this whole science-based world. So.
Right. No, I agree. And, and as we pointed out, science is not a worldview. It's not a paradigm. You correctly point out it's a mechanism for information gathering, understanding, empirical knowledge. But people fall victim to scientism and allow it to become this overarching paradigm and worldview in which they view themselves, as we saw with Norton, Israel, and Nippard, that everything they say is now backed by the experts. And it is dogmatic in that sense. Things are written down and then everybody falls in order and doesn't question the dogma. And, I think this is really problematic. And as we talked about with health, it's just so diverse. It's hard to make, just with you talking about testosterone and how specific it is to the individual. And yet some of these, again, and that's how you get the content. That's how you get the followers, but making these large, grandiose claims about things. We just, as Orthodox Christians, need to keep in mind like what our purpose is. I love fitness. I love working out, love getting a pump. I know you do. We've worked out multiple times. And I think all that's great. We just have to make sure that our priorities first begin with Christ, the church, our faith, and everything funnels down from that. And so the point of getting a great physique is to be healthy, strong, and fit for your family, for service to others. And if it really is like most of these fitness influencers, just to show your physique to other people so you can get adulation, well, then you're into a world where you just worship yourself. And in that world, they just use science to justify it.
Yep.
So anyways, brother, thanks so much for coming on. God bless you.
There's always feedback. I always love interacting. Like I said, a lot of the guys from your channel end up over coming and seeing me, and Skittles comes over and says hi quite often, and it's always good, man. It's always a pleasure to chat and bang heads together.
Well, what's your give where people can get you, and let me tag you too in the title. I didn't tag your YouTube channel.
Yeah, they'll I think at this point it's Dr. Michael Moeller. Go find me on YouTube. I'm on Instagram. So I mostly talk peptides. I actually too, with my reader from church, Reader Seraphim, we do a channel called Vigilantly Orthodox. We've had 4 or 5 episodes out. And,
nice.
Yeah, we were a little slow the last couple months because we've been out. You could probably find us. We're small still. I don't know if we got 100 subs. So it's just me.
Everybody go follow.
Yeah.
Vigilantly.
Oh,
Vigilant.
like, yeah. Stay sober and vigilant. Vigilantly orthodox. Got a couple episodes. There we are.
Nice.
Yep. That was 4 months ago. It's kind of coffee hour stuff. The reader up here and I became really, really good friends. He's a wealth of knowledge, like any, it's the kind of guy you sit down at coffee hour with, and you're there for 2 or 3 hours talking about and he's actually in fire scene thing. Yeah, he's actually in the diaconate too. So he just learned. Nice. He's in liturgics. He's learned a lot of Slavonic, and he was a major history buff before. So wealth of knowledge. Him and I just, I kind of go back and forth. This last week we talked about liturgics. We talked about my trip to Athos. We get a little talking about ancient Rome or Protestant stuff, all the fun stuff that usually you chat about at coffee.
What good man doesn't talk about Rome?
Yep, always. So yeah, if you guys would check some of that stuff out, leave us some comments, because him and I just sit down and shoot from the cup about a couple of different topics. We chatted about Pascha. To me, the point of the podcast was really like, you're coming into Orthodox and how many of these things you're in the church for a year and you're like, what's Dormition? You know what I mean? Or like Holy Week, so we just chatted about some of the stuff that gets brought up that is not, how shall I say, common knowledge, just like what's the difference in salvation, theosis, some of that fun stuff. So, yeah, stop by, say hi, leave us some comments, and let us know what you think about the show. I'm sure the good reader and I would enjoy it.
All right. Well, thank you, brother, for being here. God bless you. And you're an incredible resource of information. And of course, we'll have to do another one here in the near future. It's been too long since last time we did a stream. I think both of our lives have been a little busy as of recently. 2025 has been a busy year.
Yep. I enjoyed this, man. I love watching content. It's always fun chatting with you. And I know we should do one probably on peptides. We can do a deep dive.
Yes, we need to dive into peptides.
Yeah,
absolutely. That'd be a great stream.
Yeah. So we'll do it again, man. Glad as always. Right. Thanks for the hospitality, everyone. Love you guys. Pray for me, please.
Same for me as well, and my wife.
Yeah.
So anyways, thank you all for supporting the stream. Thanks everybody for being here. Oh, Screwed Up Nevsky, COTEL Crew member for 10 months, says fire stream. Thank you so much, Dr. David and Dr. Michael. Well, thank you, Screwed Up Nevsky, for being here. God bless you guys and have a wonderful weekend. God bless you all. And I will be back. I got a drama alert and an end times, another Eschaton Vigil end time stream coming up this next week. So we may do one Sunday night, but definitely got a handful of streams and reaching out to some people. I'm going to be seeing a handful of familiar faces coming on to do some interesting streams. So
hey, when's the Nashville thing?
Like November 16th, 17th. That's by the way, so everybody Florida who's super chatted, that's going to a fund to help me and my wife go down to Nashville to hang out at DebateCon. Or you're talking about Dyer's thing?
Yeah, that's it. Well, both of them, right? Because that's
Dyer's in Florida. That's at the end of November, and then DebateCon is in Nashville at like November 16th.
So I'm pretty sure the Florida conference is the 20th to the 23rd.
Yeah.
So back-to-back weekends for you. So
back-to-back weekends of travel. Yeah. Busy month, November. Busy month. So anyways, guys, I will see you all in the next one. As always, until then, God bless.